pasatiempo estadounidense, una pasión internacional. The World Baseball Classic. Baseball is spoken here.
The equation is simple for Team USA. Win and advance to the semifinals in San Diego. But Mexico stands in the way as Roger Clemens takes the hill for his country in what could be his last game. Next, from Anaheim. Have you heard the noise from the crowds? Felt the tension and excitement? Seen the celebrations? This has meant so much to the players, to the fans, to the world. And now, for the team from baseball's birthplace, it comes down to a single game. For the USA, it has not been an easy stroll. The game is too global for that now. To reach the semifinals of this inaugural event, Jeter, A-Rod, Griffey, and all the rest must dig deep for their very best. With that in mind, they turn to Roger Clemens in what could be his final start. The Hall of Fame awaits later. But in his line of sight tonight, Team Mexico and a trip to the semifinals. It's do or die for America's team in the World Baseball Classic.
It is the World Baseball Classic presented by Taco Bell. And you can see the parking lot has already pretty much filled up at Angel Stadium. A beautiful night for a ball game and a must-win for Team United States against the team from Mexico, which is still not yet quite eliminated themselves. Korea, they're already in the WBC Final Four, unbeaten so far in the tournament. The United States must win to overtake Japan and head in. Japan is still alive if they get a lot of help from Mexico here today. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe and Eric Karras, and we have a lot of excitement here in the booth and in this ballpark. Team United States is facing an elimination game, but they've got a few things going for them, not the least of which is a 341-game winner, the Rocket, Roger Clemens, and perhaps in his final start, Rip, he is being asked to win a must-win for his country.
Well, we've said goodbye to the Rocket before, John. No one really knows, including Roger Clemens, if tonight will be his last start or not. There's no more debate, though, over who is the most dominant pitcher in the history of baseball. You mentioned all of the wins. Over 4,500 strikeouts, 7 Cy Young Awards. Nobody can compare to those statistics. His job tonight is to win this ball game. If he does that, Jake Peavy will take over and pitch in the semifinals, followed by Dontrell Willis in the final game. But first of all, the Rocket has to take care of business.
All right, so the Rocket heading out, and he's up against a guy, Eric, who knows a little bit about pitching himself. He's not being talked about as a Hall of Famer yet, but he had a great year a couple years ago. Oliver Perez up against this vaunted USA lineup.
Well, and this USA lineup is led by Ken Griffey Jr. And after 4 injury-plagued seasons, he has regained his position as one of the top players in the league. Comeback player of the year last year, banging out 35 home runs, hit well over 300. You know, before this tournament started, he wasn't feeling quite right. Went out and took an extra hour and a half of batting practice, and that has translated into him leading the team in home runs and RBIs. We're talking about somebody who was voted by his peers as Major League Player of the Decade, is the youngest player on the All-Century team. We have a chance to watch one of the greatest players to ever play the game tonight.
All right, and there are a lot of great players out there with him. Team USA, though, they are on the brink. They need a win. And Derek Jeter and company, they're ready to play ball here, and we're going to come back. A-Rod is set to go, so is Chipper Jones, he's set to go, and Oliver Perez is just about ready to go. We'll come back to get it started right after this. And we are in Angel Stadium in what ordinarily would be a very difficult time for a hitter with the shadows of the late afternoon and the bright background, but right now a lot of that has disappeared behind a cloud, so the hitters may have caught a break. We'll see if it remains that way. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe and Eric Karras, and Griffey will be coming up shortly against Oliver Perez. We want to bring in another member of our crew who's here with us, our colleague Duke Castiglione. Duke.
All right, John, thank you very much. Well, earlier this week, I had a chance to ask the Rocket. I said, Roger, after this tournament, Where are you going to pitch? The Red Sox, the Yankees, Houston? What about the Rangers? He said, after this, I'm closing it down. And then maybe, just maybe, June or July, I'll think about pitching again.
Well, and there are at least a few teams who are hoping that he decides to pitch again sometime this summer. Some think that he will, some think that he won't. But for now, he's focused on this one for his manager with Team USA, Buck Martinez, another one of our ESPN colleagues. And here's the batting order presented by Buck Martinez for this one. The starting lineups presented by MLB 06, the show. It will be Michael Young of the Texas Rangers, second base. Derek Jeter of the Yankees at shortstop. Ken Griffey Jr. hitting a cool .588 in this tournament, center field. Chipper Jones of the Braves at third base. A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez of the Yankees, the designated hitter. Vernon Wells of the Blue Jays in right field. Mark Teixeira, the Rangers slugger, first base. Jeff Francoeur, the young sensation from Atlanta, in left field, not right field, but left field. And Michael Barrett of the Cubs is the catcher, batting ninth. And there's Oliver Perez, who was so tough a couple of years ago in particular, Rick.
A hard-throwing left-hander for the Pittsburgh Pirates, just 24 years of age. John, as you said, he dominated in 04. He took a step back last year. They're hoping with a new regiment as far as getting in shape, as far as throwing more strikes, this kid will bounce back with a big year this year.
So here we go. The must-win for Team USA. It is slightly possible that they could lose this game and still advance. If Mexico beats them 1-0, they would advance. But almost any other scenario, as there's ball one to Michael Young, any other scenario that has them losing means that Japan would likely go. There's Johnny Damon, who is hurting and not in the lineup tonight. And that ball into right field, battling the shadows out there, but making the grab is Mario Valenzuela. Michael Young is retired, one away.
Well, this defensive club of Mexico, the strength is the outfield. All of these young men have very good arms, as we've seen earlier in the tournament. So to take the extra base, if you're the United States, you better be absolutely sure.
Luis Alfonso Garcia. And there's a ball too low from Oliver Perez to Derek Jeter. Jeter, like Griffey, has hit real well in this tournament, hitting .563 so far.
You know, John, talking to him before the game, he has really enjoyed himself in this tournament as well.
Into the hole at short. And Amezaga. Jeter is gone. Number two, Amezaga, who's familiar with this infield. He used to play here for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Well, he's bounced around. Good utility player, good role player. Filling in tonight for the usual shortstop, Juan Castro.
So two down, and here is Griffey, about whom you were speaking. And look at those numbers in the tournament. 10 hits, 17 at-bats, a .588 average, 3 homers.
Yeah, but I tell you what, you want to talk about Oliver Perez? Look at his numbers against Ken Griffey Jr. 0 for 10 with 5 Ks.
And that's a strike call to the outside corner. So when Griffey heard that Oliver Perez was the starter tonight, he was probably not thrilled about that.
I'll never forget what Todd Helton, the slugger for Colorado Rockies, said about Oliver Perez. He said, for a left-handed hitter, he's a good one to take a day off.
Griffey, that one got in on him a little bit. Over toward the seats. Not much room in foul ground there, and that ball is back out of play. Adrian Gonzalez gave chase. Griffey hit one here against Korea Monday.
Well, this was an off-speed pitch that stayed on the inner half of the plate. And as we've seen well over 500 times, Ken Griffey lofts that over the wall.
2 strikes to count to Griffey. Remember, as Rick Sutcliffe mentioned, he has struck out half of the times he's faced Perez over the years. Now Perez gave a little Far East hesitation right there. Like he's been watching these games on ESPN.
Well, you know, it's been working for Team Korea and Team Japan. He figured, what the heck, I might as well give it a shot.
But we picked it up after there. He kicked the leg back and then he stopped. Griffey into center field, and that was the first time that he has ever had a base hit against Oliver Perez.
No real surprise there, is it? I mean, doesn't he always find a way to make something good happen? He's going to make those adjustments. I don't care who's on the mound.
Well, and you have to realize, although he hasn't had success, you're not going to keep one of the greatest players down continually. An off-speed pitch that Perez leaves over the plate. Griffey drives it up the middle.
Now Chipper Jones. And I wonder if Jerry Narron, Griffey's manager in Cincinnati, is a little concerned that Griffey's not saving enough of his hits for the regular season with the Reds. Chipper Jones said that manager Bobby Cox called him and said, hey, you know, save a couple of home runs for when you get back to us, would you? Chipper was the guy when the tournament first began who was hitting the long ball. A switch hitter, batting right-handed. 0-1 the count. And that's too high for a ball.
Well, of the men in this USA lineup, Chipper Jones has had the most success against Oliver Perez. He's hit 1 home run in 6 at-bats, but he has also had 6 walks. So he has seen a lot of pitches from Perez.
Seen a lot of pitches and not many of them in the strike zone.
That's right.
1 ball, 1 strike. Griffey at first, in the dirt. 2 balls and a strike. Chipper Jones hit a home run against Mexico last week in Phoenix.
Well, he's been swinging the bat well throughout this tournament. The first pitch he'd seen in the tournament came off the bench and delivered a big home run for Team USA.
He actually predicted that home run as he walked out to the on-deck circle to hitting coach Reggie Smith. I wonder what he said before this at bat.
Yeah, I'd like to know. Maybe we'll find out here in a moment. 2-1 the count. Left center field. Back is Luis Carlos Garcia, and that ends the inning. Hit it pretty well, but not quite well enough. So the USA does not score. Now the Rocket, Roger Clemens, heads out to the hill. Team Mexico coming up in a scoreless game. Team USA nothing. Team Mexico coming up. And on the left there's the manager of Team Mexico, Francisco Paquin Estrada, talking to one of his pitching coaches there, Teddy Higuera. There's the aerial view of Angel Stadium. Here's the batting order for Team Mexico now, presented by MLB 06, the show. Alfredo Amezaga at shortstop. Jorge Cantu of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at second base, hitting .350 with a couple of home runs in this tournament. Longtime big league veteran Vinny Castilla, third base. Rubiel Durazo, a slugger, the DH, hitting cleanup. Luis Alfonso Garcia, left field. Adrian Gonzalez of the Padres at first base. Miguel Ojeda of the Rockies, the catcher. Mario Valenzuela in right field. Luis Carlos Garcia of the Veracruz Reds in center field, all up against Roger Clemens. Look at that ERA last year, his best ever. Now he's hoping to have his A game in what could be his final big league start as he tries to propel Team USA into the Final Four of this first World Baseball Classic. As Amezaga fouls one off to the left end, and truly, while the incentive is obvious, everybody wants to win a ball game and move their team along, but also there would be some embarrassment in the first ever World Baseball Classic. The team from the host country, the team from the country where the game was invented, did not advance into that final. Just off the outside.
I'll tell you how important this game is to Team USA. Before the series started, John, Buck Martinez, Team USA's manager, told Roger Clemens, you're going to pitch in the 3rd game against South Africa, and I'm going to pitch you in the final game, hopefully, in San Diego. They had to move him up.
That got him. Right near the knee, and Amezaga has reached base.
This pitch just gets away from Roger Clemens, and you can see Amezaga rounds the plate. Roger is trying to go in off of the plate, runs off just a bit, gets Amezaga in the knee.
Amezaga, who stole 15 bases last year between the majors and the minors. He was in the big leagues just for a brief time last year with the Pirates. And here is Jorge Cantu. And Cantu, who had a big year, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, he set their franchise record in RBIs last year. And he's definitely shown that he's a premier hitter in this tournament as well.
Well, I think he's somebody we're going to hear a lot about in the upcoming years. He has unbelievable hand speed and has the ability to react to the pitch. He's not a guess hitter. He sees the ball because of his strength. and his hand speed, he can generate unbelievable power. And this guy will be a household name for many years.
And 117 RBI. Oh, that was close, but safely back to Mexico.
Well, the Rocket has set you up there, boy. He's kind of lobbed the first pickoff throw over there. And then right here, he doesn't even look at the runner. He comes down quickly and almost is able to pick off the Mexican.
Bob Davidson, who's been in the firestorm of controversy already in this tournament, is the first base umpire there. So I'm going to duly report our replay show that he got that call right on the pickoff.
Well, the Rocket better get this pitch in the right location, or like Eric said, Cantu can hit it a long ways.
There goes Mexico. A bunt, pumped up, and that's going to be a double play. Wow! And Roger Clemens pumps the fist. A bunt and run, and a pop-up that took the bat out of Cantu's hand. Hard to understand.
You think at 43 years of age, maybe that energy level might have gone down a little bit? No, no way with Roger Clemens. If anything, it has gone up. Take a look at the runners off and going. Cantu, I'm surprised as well. He's trying to get a bunt down. I think he's their biggest offensive threat. He pops up the bunt, and all of a sudden, an easy double play. The Rocket is back throwing out of the windup.
Wow. And Meziga was over at second base as Barrett threw the ball back. And that's a base hit for Vinny Castillo. And Team USA in the field. Back to Roger Clemens. Looks like this.
Well, defensively, left field, getting the start, Jeff Francoeur. A ton of assists last year. Ken Griffey in center. Vernon Wells out in right field. Mark Teixeira, Gold Glove winner at first. His sidekick at second base, Michael Young. Derek Jeter at short, Chipper Jones at third, Michael Barrett behind the plate, who has very much improved his defense behind the plate.
So now here is Erubiel Durazo, and you got to be awfully careful with this guy. He's got enormous power. He's hit a lot of home runs in the big leagues.
He's coming off some elbow surgery, and he's not been swinging the bat like he can, but even Jeff Francoeur out there in left field is playing deep enough to respect the power of Durazo.
No score in the game, 2-down runner at first. And the ball is off the outside.
John Francoeur saying before the game he has never, ever played left field before in his life. He took some fly balls during the workout there yesterday, and he said it could be an adventure, but I'll promise you this, I'll give it everything I got.
And if somebody tries to take an extra base against him, they'll do it at great risk. That is in there for a strike. 2-1 now to Durazo.
And you know, just because you're an outfielder, obviously playing left as opposed to playing right, completely different because of the way the ball comes off the bat. Instead of maybe going to the right, it goes to the left. With left-handed hitters, it comes off differently. So it'll be interesting to watch Jeff Francoeur in left today.
Center field, Griffey will come in a little bit. That one off the end of the bat, and that is the inning. A hit batsman, a base hit, but a bunt into a double play. No score heading to the second. A-Rod coming up. The World Baseball Classic, and this is an elimination game. The winner, if it's the U.S., will move on to the Final Four beginning Saturday in San Diego. Oliver Perez trying to keep that from happening. You see Team USA fans in the ballpark and a lot of Team Mexico fans as well, as Alex Rodriguez takes 2 high for ball 1. I'm John Miller with Eric Karras and Rick Sutcliffe. Thrilled to be able to bring it to you, and what has been just a great treat for baseball fans, not all around the country, but all around the world. And we've seen some spectacular games, both in person and on the various ESPN networks and MLB.TV. 2-0 the count to Alex Rodriguez. And that is in the dirt. 3-0 now to A-Rod. He, of course, got the winning hit in that great battle. What a game that was on Sunday against Team Japan. Vernon Wells on deck, and then Mark Teixeira. You third in the inning, no score. And he eases that one through there for a strike. Here's the base hit that drove in the winner on Sunday.
You know, Nikkei, like you were saying, these guys have not been swinging the bats like they're capable. This right here is just the 20th at bat of spring training for Alex Rodriguez. He said before this series started he needed 45 to 50 to be right. He's getting close though.
3-1 now, and he draws the walk. Going back to Sunday, and that right now, the outcome of that game is why Team USA knows that it will move on with a win. And that one's still, I'm sure, with fans from Team Japan and just a lot of people who are fans of fair play, still a sore point about this tournament.
Well, and there was no question that that call played a huge role, but Team Japan had opportunities in the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, and did not score at all.
Vernon Wells takes the ball off the outside.
And John, you know a lot about him, but I love how their manager, Sadaharu Oh, handled that situation. He said, you know what, it's not the first missed call in the history of baseball. It won't be the last. We still have an opportunity to advance in this playoff. They just could not beat Korea. But then again, nor could anybody else.
And in some ways, although Bob Davidson, as the count goes to 2-0, although Bob Davidson has a lot of big league experience, he's not a big league umpire right now. And we don't have big league umpires working this series.
We'll take a look. Yeah, right there. I mean, he's obviously on the back. Randy Wynn with not a strong throwing arm. He didn't need to leave early. There's the call. There's the correct call by home plate umpire Brian Knight. But all of a sudden, Buck Martinez came out. He tried to get the call reversed. He went to Bob Davison. You could see the excitement there. And Eric Carroll's, like you said, that was a huge play. Not only would it have given Japan the lead, but they would have still been hitting in that inning. They could have blown that game out.
Well, they really could have. And, you know, the issue is that was Bob Davidson's call from the get-go. And that is why he was able to overturn the call of second base umpire Brian Knight.
Brian Knight, who is behind the plate, ironically, tonight. That's a strike now to Vernon Wells, 2-1 the count.
And John, I'm sure that's something they will get resolved before the World Baseball Classic is played again. I honestly hope it's resolved with big league umpires before the semis and finals this weekend.
2-1 the count. And the curveball is too low, now 3-1.
Well, and not only big league umpires, but umpires from around the world representing all the participants in the World Baseball Classic.
Well, I agree with that. And, you know, it's amazing the number of people I talk to, fans of Team USA, American people, who felt that Japan had been treated poorly, that it was a very uncomfortable win. In the bullpen, Francisco Campos, veteran right-hander, one of the premier pitchers out of Mexico, getting ready.
And John, this is typical of Oliver Perez and his struggles a year ago, just constantly pitching behind in the count, averaging over 20 pitches per inning. That's way too many with his stuff.
A-Rod runs, Wells into left field. That ball is caught at the edge of the warning track by Luis Alfonso Garcia. A-Rod is just back in time. Wow. A-Rod must have thought that was going over the head of Garcia, and he just barely made it back.
Well, Vernon Wells puts a charge into this ball, and Alex Rodriguez does the right thing. He goes a bit past second base, so if it does get over the outfielder's head, he will be able to score. Notice as he passes second and his return to first, he retouches second, which is the correct thing to do, and then hustles back and just is able to beat the throw into first base.
Now here is Mark Teixeira, Texas Rangers slugger, who has not done much slugging so far in this series. He is 0 for 12 in the World Baseball Classic.
Look at it right here. Boy, there was a complaint there on the part of Adrian Gonzalez. And you know what? Once again, he was right. Once again, Bob Davison was wrong.
In the hole and juggled by Amezaga. His only chance of the play was at second base from that deep in the hole. And he might not have gotten anybody even had he fielded it clean.
I don't think there's any chance that, I mean, it would have been a great play if it happened. But to me, that's got to go as a base hit. I mean, you can see Teixeira hustling down the line. A-Rod has got above average speed. It's just that ball was perfectly placed.
Well, credit A-Rod for getting that base hit for Teixeira because he was hustling into second base, had a good break off at first base, and really only played for Amezaga was to be at second.
Here's my guy, Johnny. I'm telling you what, this kid is constantly smiling, and when you've got the talent that Francoeur has, why wouldn't you have a smile on your face?
Jeff Francoeur, who burst upon the scene in Atlanta, in his hometown last year, and he was just red hot right away with the bat, with the glove, doing it all. And he was sort of the face of that Braves division champion last year because they had a lot of young talent, but he was sort of the guy who emerged over all of them. Hit softly, Castillo, they get one, and held at second base. Runner count 2. Over to third is A-Rod. Francoeur safe at first.
John, even though it doesn't work out there, he doesn't get a hit. When teams and organizations talk about a prospect, this is what they're supposed to look like. That being Jeff Francoeur. They're supposed to have a good arm. They're supposed to have power. They're supposed to be built athletic. You see him running down the baseline right there. This kid's got a chance to be special.
Well, and you're just talking about physical makeup, let alone his character. When you talk to people in the Braves organization and his teammates, they all rave about his work ethic and his ability to blend in and know his place in the clubhouse.
Francoeur, a great all-round athlete. As a high schooler, and many thought maybe he'd end up as a college football star. He had that kind of talent. Broken back, Michael Barrett, with runners at first and third. Still coming out, look out! And caught by the left fielder, Luis Alfonso Garcia, as Amezaga got out of his way. No score. Last of the second, Clemens will head back to the mound. The World Baseball Classic from Angel Stadium in Anaheim. Team United States, nothing. Team Mexico, nothing. Last of the second inning. And the 341 game winner, Roger Clemens, back on the mound. And a high fly along the right field line. Off the bat of Luis Alfonso Garcia, and it is caught by Vernon Wells. He saved the moment right there as he was about to collide with the second baseman, Michael Young, and somehow averted a collision and caught it.
Well, nice play by Vernon Wells, and really as an outfielder, because he is coming towards the ball, it is his ball to call. And as you can tell by the reaction of Michael Young, he hears Vernon Wells because at the last minute, he takes away from the ball and quits pursuing it. A great play. Sometimes, too, with the voices, when you're playing in a large stadium and a lot of noise, it's difficult to hear somebody calling for the ball.
And John, right along with that, you got a guy who played shortstop last year playing second base. You got a guy in right field that played center field a year ago. I mean, there were all kinds of possibilities for that play to get messed up, and somehow Vernon Wells was able to hold on.
Vernon Wells showing why he's one of the premier center fielders in the American League, although today he's a right fielder and still all in one piece out there. Happy to say. Adrian Gonzalez, who was a former teammate of Mark Teixeira and Michael Young's with the Texas Rangers, and a guy who was considered a top young prospect. Actually is from San Diego, but also lived a great deal of time as a kid in Mexico. His parents live in Chula Vista near San Diego now, but both work in Tijuana in Mexico at the same time.
I agree, John. And to me, this guy is a lot like Francoeur. You know, he's a local boy. Francoeur grew up in Atlanta, and he's what a prospect should look like.
And the Rocket with the splitter, and the count is now 2-2 to Gonzalez.
What amazed me watching Roger Clemens throw on the side, and before he came into the ball game in Scottsdale against the Giants, his command is unbelievable. He can backdoor that slider to a left-handed hitter at will.
2-2, and that's up and away. Full count now to Adrian Gonzalez. Miguel Ojeda on deck. No score. And something to keep in mind is Ojeda in this ball game as it progresses. If Roger Clemens throws 50 pitches or more in this game, then he could not pitch again in this tournament. That's a foul out of play off to the left. He's capable of throwing a lot more than 50 today and may well do it. But if you throw 50 or more pitches, you've got to have a full 4 days of rest.
Well, when we talked to the pitching coach, Marcel Latchman, we talked to Buck Martinez, you know, all of that is good. Those are the rules that they've got to play by. But they could care less tonight. They know they need to win this ball game. And with a win tonight, just getting to the semifinals, it would be a huge, huge feather in the cap for Team USA because they have been on the brink of elimination twice now.
One to the Rocket in each situation. That's back and out of play off to the left. He jammed him on that one. 3-2 to Gonzalez. Against South Africa last Friday, and they weren't taking anything for granted. On the other hand, the Rocket took them out in the bottom of the third inning of that game with a 16-0 lead, which might have, of all the things that's happened to him in his career, that might have been the one thing that had never happened before. That is strike 3 called on the outside corner.
16 runs. That was a month's worth of run support for the Rocket with the Astros a year ago. Take a look at the command here. You got a good power left-handed hitter in the box, and he catches that outside corner, perfectly caught by Michael Barrett. And that was one thing that manager Buck Martinez was saying before the game, too. Barrett now has caught the Rocket in all 3 of his starts for Team USA. There is a comfort zone there that these two have.
Here is Miguel Ojeda, and the slider going outside for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Well, the Rocket made the start in the one exhibition game they played against the San Francisco Giants, and then they started the tournament against South Africa last Friday. Now this one also in the WBC. But last year you brought up how we know he was never hit 16-0 after 3 or after 9 or after anything. Usually it was 1-0 or 2-1. That's why he had this incredible earned run average last year and only 13 wins.
Well, you know, and what makes that so amazing last year, the under 2 ERA, is he did it in a hitter's ballpark in Houston. I mean, that place is arguably one of the toughest places to pitch in all of baseball, and he went out there and absolutely dominated like he was pitching in Yosemite Park.
1-1 the count. Well, the other thing was that 1.87 ERA. It was way below that most of the year. He tailed off his last 2 or 3
well,
starts.
it's way below that on the road. I mean, he had a 1.32 ERA away from that home ballpark. So just he continues to dominate in every phase of the pitching game.
Well, with stuff like that, those kind of numbers, he could pitch for Korea. I saw the numbers today. Korea is unbeaten, the only unbeaten team in the entire World Baseball Classic. And their team ERA in their 6 games, 1.33.
Well, if they wouldn't have won that game last night, half these people wouldn't be here tonight. We know that. And just like, you know, what happened, Mexico had to beat Team Canada for that final start in the round 1 for the Rocket to mean anything there. So, you know, the United States has had a lot of help. It's time now that they help themselves.
We've got 2 down here in the last of the second. USA nothing, Mexico nothing. 2 down, nobody on. Ojeda the hitter. And the hard one came right after him on 3-1. Now it's 3-2.
43 years of age. Going to turn 44 if he plays during the regular season this year, and he can still do that.
Well, this team, Mexico, is made up of a lot of players that are free swingers. They're not looking to walk down to first base.
3-2. There's Jeter. And that is the inning. 3 up, 3 down. Now the top of the order coming up. Michael Young, Derek Jeter, and Ken Griffey Jr. Team USA must win 0-0. And at the World Baseball Classic, we are very pleased to have courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company this kind of aerial coverage. And the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company reminding you to travel with peace of mind on Goodyear's Forterra tire, featuring silent armor technology. Always very excited to have them along with us. Here is the top of the order for Team USA, and as a sharp breaking ball is spun a little bit inside to Michael Young, the outstanding young middle infielder of the Texas Rangers, and not only just an outstanding player, but we know he's a team player all the way around. The acquired Alfonso Soriano, he's a second baseman, and Michael Young, who was the second baseman. Well, I'll move to short.
Yeah, well, originally they wanted to move Soriano to shortstop, but as he's doing now at the Washington Nationals, he does not want to leave that second base position. Michael Young did.
And that breaking ball is too high. 2-1 to Michael Young. Derek Jeter is on deck. Ken Griffey Jr. is up third. By the way, we mentioned at the top of the telecast, Mexico is not yet officially eliminated from possibility of moving on. But when the U.S. scores a run, if and when they score a run, at that moment, Mexico will be eliminated. Shallow right center. And caught by Luis Carlos Garcia. 1 away.
Well, we look at the last out, the last inning, Miguel Ojeda's ground ball up the middle. I noticed Roger Clemens, he was thinking about fielding it with his bare hand, and then he thought better of it and brought it back. And the problem with that, although the ball might not be hit hard, if it glances off your finger or hits you in the hand differently, you can't pitch anymore. You know, I don't know, Sut, did that ever happen to you at all?
A lot.
I mean, it's just a reaction. I mean,
some people go for it and some people go away for it. I think he had plenty of time to realize, oh, hey, wait a minute, Derek Jeter's behind me. I'll let this one go.
And that fastball just missing off the outside to Derek Jeter, who's at the plate now. Jeter grounded out to short his first time. No score, third inning. If Team Mexico's only possibility of winning this game is not just to shut out the USA, but to shut them out for at least 13 innings. The big chop, and Mexico throws out Derek Jeter for the second time. Jeter now 0 for 2.
So you're saying that if all of a sudden in the bottom of the ninth, Team Mexico loads the bases with nobody outs, if they score a run and they win, they lose.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
If they score a run anytime before the 13th inning, they lose.
Okay.
In other words, even though they might win the game, the only way they can advance is to shut out the USA at least into the 13th, and then they got to hit a 3-run homer. They can't just score in the 13th. They've got to score at least 3. So, you know,
well, it has to be a homer.
Guy hits a solo homer or a 2-run homer, no good.
Right.
They win the game and are eliminated.
Yeah, you can't get a base hit, score a run, and then because then the game's over.
I'll tell you what, I hate to be Mexico's hitting coach today.
Griffey up the middle. There is Amezaga, who is playing into pull, and that ends the inning. And Oliver Perez has his best inning yet. 3 up and 3 down. Mexico is still alive. The USA has not scored. Roger Clemens heads back to the hill in a scoreless game. The World Baseball Classic presented by Taco Bell. It's the final game here in Anaheim. And Team USA needs to win to assure itself of being in the Final Four in San Diego come Saturday. Roger Clemens on the mound, the ageless one, perhaps in his final performance as a big-time, big league pitcher. It could be. There's ball 1 outside to Mario Valenzuela. And one thing we know about Mexico in this tournament, they've had trouble hitting lately. The last couple of games since they arrived in Anaheim. First Korea, then Japan really shut them down. But their pitching has been pretty strong throughout this tournament. A 3.14 team ERA, so this could well be a low-scoring game.
Well, their pitching has been good, and offensively, they just don't string together a lot of hits.
Down the right field line. That could be trouble if it's fair. Into the corner. That ball hits the foul pole. A home run. Mario Valenzuela. Now, Bob Davidson, apparently he did not realize that hit the foul pole. He's saying it's in play. There's Jose Tolentino, the first base coach. And Joaquin Estrada, the manager, comes out. And Bob Davidson's going to go and ask for some help on this one. I mean, clearly hit off the foul pole high above the right field wall.
Well, I like what they're doing in this situation. The entire crew is going to get together, and they will all give their opinion on what they saw. And it was clearly evident to us sitting in the booth that the ball hit the foul pole, which then it should be a home run. I don't know how they could miss this call.
The umpires, Brian Knight, Bob Davidson, Ramon Armendariz, and Neil Poulton.
Well, what I don't get here is how anybody's going to reverse his call.
Well, he is going to give it only a double, and you can hear the reaction of the crowd. Joaquin Estrada, the manager, going to get back into it now with Davidson.
Well, nobody was closer to this ball coming down than was Bob Davidson. Take a look at it. There it is, clearly off the pole, as you said, John, well above Vernon Wells, the right fielder for Team USA. But what happened? Bob Davidson could not see the baseball. He guessed, and once again, he guesses wrong. Now, I agree with all the other umpires. You know what? They are so far away, Eric. There's no way they could tell exactly what happened. And for you to overrule an umpire, you had better be positive. That's where Bob Davidson made his mistake against Japan.
Well, and I will say this, as far away as they are, I'm sitting farther away than those umpires, and it was clearly evident to me that that ball hit off the pole. Now, Bob Davidson, in his defense, he's running out, so the ball may be bouncing in his vision. It's tough to see sometimes when you're running out to make a call. The other 3 umpires had nothing to do but to watch that ball. And if you tell me that you can't see from their vantage points that ball hitting off the foul pole, somebody needs to go get their eyes checked.
Well, that wall out there is no more than maybe 5 feet tall, and that ball hit maybe 12 or 13 feet above the ground. Not even close. Man, now that is just horrible. And again, we are missing the big league umpires. Bob Davidson, a former major league umpire, who has been rehired and is trying to work his way back to the big leagues as a minor league umpire. And you can see the Mexican dugout now furious with Brian Knight, the home plate umpire.
John, what they're mad about, Esteban Loaiza has the baseball. He's saying that I can see the paint from the foul pole on that ball. He's telling him just to simply come look at it. That's why I was surprised the second base umpire threw the ball out of play before they could all take a peek at it.
Well, that's a great point, because how many times have we seen a guy hit in the foot and the umpire, a batter, the umpire doesn't think he got a hit. They go look at the baseball, see if they can find some shoe polish or whatever on it.
There it is. He's just telling them, come take a look at it. Well, by then, to me, it's too late. I mean, there's no telling what they could have done with the ball. I'm sure they've got some yellow paint in that dugout there.
Well, I'll tell you, what do you think, as excited as this Mexican dugout is, what do you think's going on with Team Japan right now if they're watching this ball game? You got to be kidding me if they're not having a discussion right now about Bob Davidson and what's going on.
And it's the same guy again.
And it's one thing to make a bad call, but to continually be the guy in the center of controversy.
Back to Clemens, and he looks Valenzuela back, and Luis Carlos Garcia is thrown out and did not advance Valenzuela.
But again, the defense did, if you could possibly defend them in Bob Davidson's case. The rest of this crew, I don't know how they did not see the ball hit off that foul.
Only thing I can say is, who are they? You and I have been around baseball for 30 years, and I've never heard of any of them, other than obviously Bob Davidson. And now, where's he going to get the help from?
Well, the big league umpires were asked to work these games, and apparently didn't feel that they were being offered enough money. Not much was said about it, other than the fact that they said they weren't going to do it. There are some big league umpires who have worked in the tournament, guys who are summer vacation relief, big league umpires, that sort of thing.
So, but now, John, the way you explained it to me earlier, if that ball would have been ruled a homer, Mexico's done, right?
If they had scored on that play, they would have actually, in going ahead, have been eliminated.
So why are they arguing?
They can't score a run until the 13th when they've got to hit a 3-run homer.
I'll tell you why they're arguing, because they want to eliminate the United States. This is their championship game right now, to beat the United States and eliminate them from their opportunity to go to San Diego.
And I talked to Joaquin Estrada, the manager, before the game, and he said, hey, I know what we need to have happen to win. All we're going to do is go out and play our tails off and try and win this ball game. That's what we want to do. We want to give them a great game and go out and beat these guys. He said the rest of it after that, we'll just let everybody else figure all that out.
I love what Vinny Castillo said before the game. He says, you know what, we left everything on the field. He said, we're obviously not satisfied with the position that we're in, but he said it's been a great experience. He said everybody on Team Mexico is happy, and you know what? We have enjoyed every single minute of it. Now, I don't know how happy they are right now, but it has been a wonderful experience in Vinny Castillo's mind for Team Mexico.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Mario Valenzuela hit one off the right field foul pole, but at least for those who count the most in terms of making that call, nobody saw it.
So the foul pole actually almost was foul. Right?
A foul call.
Yeah.
2-2 the count to Mexico. That one floats through there for a called strike. Mexico has a few words for Brian Knight as he heads back to the dugout.
I think it's a great ball. It's a 2-seam fastball from Roger Clemens. He throws more now than he used to. Watch it start off the plate, and then look at that late movement coming back in. Nicely caught. Take a look at Michael Barrett. Everybody talks about his offense, and he is a terrific offensive catcher. His defense has stepped up as well. We've seen it throughout this series.
So now Jorge Cantu. Because Mexico, they need a clutch hit here to make the whole controversy go away.
This is the guy you want up, isn't it?
He is, I think we would all agree, all around the best hitter in this Mexican ball club, one of the top hitters in this tournament.
And Roger Clemens is fully aware of that. I wouldn't be surprised, not that he would pitch around Cantu, but he would be very careful with him.
That is a strike at the knees on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cantu very oddly tried to bunt in his first at bat. Oddly, because he is maybe their top hitter.
Which was his first at bat, as the last at bat was for Vinny Castillo ever for these two guys against the Rocket.
And he bunted. He fouled a bunt into a double play. The count is 2-1. You've got first base empty, but Vinny Castillo is on deck. A veteran hitter and a great fastball hitter. So Vinny would be next. Mexico trying to get that runner home from second. Mario Valenzuela. No score in the game, last of the third. The splitter in the dirt. He chased it 2-2 the count.
Rick, you're exactly right. He's just not going to give in to this young rising superstar. 2-1 pitch. Cantu thinking with Castillo behind me, I'm going to get a fastball to hit here. It was a split finger fastball, an off-speed pitch, and he took the aggressiveness of Cantu and put it up against him. He gets back into the count.
Well, and that shows you how much respect Roger Clemens has for Jorge Cantu.
The runner at second, Valenzuela. No score. 2 down. That one will go back out of play. Cantu, the young guy from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, and he said before the first game of this tournament for both of these ball players, they played each other in Arizona last week, that he was so excited the night before he could not sleep. He stayed awake just thinking about the game and envisioning the game the whole night, and perhaps was a little too excited about it. And Mexico ended up being shut out by the USA 2-0 in that game.
You know, it's a great opportunity for a young guy like Cantu to get to know a lot of the guys that, you know, he grew up idolizing. The Fernando Valenzuelas, the Teddy Higueras, the Armando Reynosos.
That one is in. Base hit center field. And here comes Valenzuela. And after all of that, he does score. 1-0 Mexico. Pretty good hitting right there.
Well, this is a great job by Jorge Cantu of not trying to do too much. This pitch is up and out of the zone. The Rocket left it a bit over the plate. Cantu with his hand speed, strength, and again, just reacts to the ball, able to fight it off, drive it into center, and get that run.
Exactly, Eric. You're talking about those quick hands and how he was able to go up and get that, where most people cannot catch up to a fastball from the Rocket.
So Mexico gets that run home. Justice has been served. I mean, the run should have already been home a long time ago on a home run.
And I'm truthfully glad. I mean, they deserve that run. That should have been theirs. Now it is theirs. Now you can go on. Japan, though, never will get that run back.
Vinny Castillo. And that's ball 1. Cantu, the runner at first base. By the way, Mexico has now been eliminated. I mean, it was a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. Anyway,
they eliminated themselves
by scoring that run.
They eliminated themselves.
But they kind of figured that going in anyway.
And as we've talked about, their championship game is right now to beat the United States.
Joaquin Estrada, who was in the big leagues, he was with the Mets. He was actually traded here to the Angels in the Nolan Ryan trade. He was traded with Nolan Ryan. Maybe the worst deal in Mets history. And that was the deal. Jim Fregosi went to the Mets. And Nolan Ryan came out here and eventually went on into the Hall of Fame.
Talk about being eliminated as with Team Mexico. 4 more pitches from the Rocket, and he will be eliminated from pitching again in this series.
3-1 to count. Roger Clemens, of course, as a kid growing up in South Texas, and his all-time favorite was Nolan Ryan. And he used to go to the Astrodome on nights when Ryan was pitching and sit down with the bullpen to watch Ryan warm up. And he's throwing 2 to Castilla. And he said he loved to hear the sound of Ryan's fastball exploding into the glove of the catcher. And he said, that's the guy I want to be, just like him, and make that same sound. And here he is all these years later, and he's the closest that we've had to Nolan Ryan, and I think he's outdone Nolan Ryan.
I was going to say maybe Nolan Ryan's the closest thing to Roger Clemens.
Oh, there you go. That is it. There goes the runner. And that is strike 3. 1-0 Mexico. Now we take it back to the studios with Scott Van Pelt for a Sports Center 30 at 30. Mexico 1, Team USA nothing. Top of the 4th inning. And there is Francisco Campos, veteran right-hander from Campeche. In fact, he teamed up with his manager, Joaquin Estrada, Campeche, the Piratas of Campeche, win the Mexican League Championship year before last. And Felipe Alou told me, in his mind, Francisco Campos is one of the best pitchers in Mexico. There's a lot of off-speed stuff.
John, that's exactly what he is. He is a pitcher. People wonder why, with almost 100 wins in the Mexican League, 33 years of age, why he has not come to the States and tried to pitch. Well, he's comfortable there.
That one into deep center field. That ball is off the top of the wall. Chipper Jones has to hurry. A double. Luis Carlos Garcia played the count. The throw a little bit offline.
Not hard to figure out why the Atlanta Braves have won 14 straight division titles. It all starts with this guy right here. The guy he'll give credit to is Bobby Cox for bringing it all together. But Eric Kirsch, the guy in the middle of that lineup, has always been Chipper Jones where he is right now.
Well, about as consistent run producer as there is in the big leagues, does it from both sides of the plate, and now has assumed a leadership role in the Braves over the past couple of seasons.
They've got a real tight ball game, a low-scoring game. Alex Rodriguez is one of the great RBI men, one of the great sluggers in the game. He's usually the guy you want up there in a spot like this. But also, he could help his club considerably if he just got that runner over to third base. That's a ball inside.
Well, I think that's what he's doing. He's going up there to drive the ball. He's not going to bunt. He's not going to give himself up by hitting the ball lightly to the right side. Alex Rodriguez is an accomplished RBI guy. You don't ask somebody to do something that they're not great at.
He walked his first time. That slider is popped up fine, out of play.
Talking to Reggie Smith the last couple of times, the guy he says that has really come around the last few days offensively, there's the hitting coach for Team USA, he said has been Alex Rodriguez. He said he's starting to pick up the baseball quicker. You can even tell, he says a lot of times, by the way, he takes a pitch that he's seeing the ball better. Got a good look at that one, didn't he?
Well, you see, in the games other than the one game they had against South Africa, Team USA 5 hits and 34 at-bats. And these clutch at-bats were a basic to well mean a run. And 0 for 2 tonight in those kind of at-bats. Runners in scoring position, meaning at second base or third base or both. And he spins that one in there, a strike call to the outside.
Well, there's no question Team USA has struggled with runners in scoring position, but it's such a small sample size. We're talking 4 or 5 games, and over the course of 162-game seasons, those things are going to happen to a ball club. And as I said earlier, these guys are all proven RBI machines. I expect them to break out.
Right center field hit well. Still going. And caught! Mario Valenzuela, what a play! Chipper Jones, however, very alertly saw it coming, and he tags and moves over to third base.
And they're yelling from Team Mexico's dugout to check the fact as to whether Chipper left too soon or not. This is a great piece of hitting. Look at him staying inside the baseball, making sure that he gives Chipper an opportunity to advance to third base now with only one out. What a terrific play.
Well, it really was, and there's also a terrific play by Chipper Jones, knowing that he needs to be on third base with one out. He goes back, tags the bag, and then moves over to third base. Some guys may be halfway, anticipating the ball carrying off the outfielder's glove. This situation, now you have a runner on third with one out.
And so, Vernon Wells. Now, if he did not catch the ball and Chipper did not score, we might be saying something different, right?
Well, if he doesn't catch the ball, it probably carries away, and Chipper will be able to score from second anyhow.
Infield comes in, and the curveball is in there for a strike to Vernon Wells.
What would be worse is if Chipper Jones is still standing on second base with one out.
Francisco Campos. Runner at third, one out. Fastball just off the outside. One ball, one strike. Mark Teixeira is on deck. This is the spot. This is where USA has exhibited its Achilles heel in this tournament. Not getting those runners home in scoring position. Wouldn't even take a hit right now. A fly ball could do it.
Eric, this has got to be a spot as a hitter you dream of, bro. I mean, you have an opportunity to fail. You can make an out here and still be able to produce a run.
Well, it is exciting as a hitter. You go up to the plate, you're already saying, I'm going to have a chance. I'm going to get that run in. But you have to remain composed and be patient, not try to do too much.
You've seen a couple of fastballs for strikes. 1-2 the count. Another fastball just off the inside. And it is 2-2.
Boy, this is something that will drive a dugout crazy because they can't tell if it misses the inside corner or not. I truly believe that it did. You see the catcher Ojeda bring it back. He too thought the ball was inside, but from the dugout, that pitch looks good.
3 straight fastballs to Wells. Runner at third. Another fastball. That one in the medium right center. Here comes Chipper. Valenzuela's got a pretty good arm. The throw. Offline. Safe. And the game is tied. And the base runner, the Chipper Jones, getting himself to third rather than the obvious going halfway, has now turned into a run.
You watch a lot of teams that get to the postseason, and they will be among the league leaders in productive outs. That's what Alex Rodriguez did. He produced the runner at third base with only one out. And then, even though the count was full, Vernon Wells just trying to protect, put it in play. He puts it in play just enough, and Chipper Jones had just enough speed to beat the great throw.
Well, and see, we talk about the statistic, runners in scoring position. The Team USA is 0 for 1 with teams that with runners in scoring position. But they got to run in.
They appealed there, and the umpire at third, Neil Polkin, said no. Here's a look at it. And he got it absolutely right. Although, if I'm Team Mexico, I'm going over to Bob Davidson and asking. Curveball inside to Mark Teixeira. 1 ball and no strikes.
I'm not even sure if he's still the crew chief or not. I mean, he was the other day when he got to overrule that call. I don't know what they got going today.
2 down, bases empty. Team USA manufactures a run here. Some old-time baseball.
Well, it is old-time baseball, and it's something that could ignite a ball club offensively. When you're constantly struggling, missing opportunities, something like that could get the whole ball rolling for this offense.
Chipper, who just missed a home run, ends up scoring the run to tie this game.
Pretty much all Chipper. I mean, he hit the double to get into scoring position. Then the base running got him to third, and then his speed put the run on the board.
Edgar Gonzalez up in the bullpen now for Mexico. And Teixeira thought that one was too low. And he argues a bit with Brian Knight. 2-2 the count instead of 3-1. 1-1 the score. We're in the top of the 4th. Center field. Luis Carlos Gonzalez. Aurelio Garcia. 1-1 now. And Rubiel Durazo, the Mexican slugger, coming up. The World Baseball Classic from Anaheim. The United States won. Mexico won. Last of the 4th inning from Angel Stadium. I'm John Miller, along with Eric Karras and Rick Sutcliffe. Also Duke Castiglione is with us. A 1-1 game. Here is Rubiel Durazo, the cleanup hitter, against Roger Clemens. And he backdoors with a slider for a strike. And Duke, a lot of controversy over that would-be home run off the foul pole by Valenzuela, called a double.
In between innings, John, I asked Bob Davidson what he thought, what he saw. He said he thought the ball hit off the top of the wall. Then I asked him what happened when you guys all got together, and he said nobody saw it. And then finally I asked him, what did you see on the ball? Did you see any paint? And he said there was no paint on the ball.
All right. Duke Castiglione on the story, all over this controversy. Thanks, Duke.
You know, I don't even remember seeing Bob Davidson look at the ball. The ball went into second base. I saw the umpire at second base take a look at it and then throw it out. And when he threw it out, he threw it into Team Mexico's dugout. Well, they obviously saw something.
Well, I think what they saw on the ball was scuff marks, because it hits that metal pole. There's going to be some cuts in that ball. If it hits the wall because it's padded, you won't have any cut marks in the ball, and I think that's what they were screaming about in the Mexican dugout.
Durazo, left center field. That's into the alleyway. That's going to go through. Griffey will have to chase. Durazo will lumber into second base with a stand-up double. Let's go back. This was the third inning in the scoreless game. Mario Valenzuela was a hitter against Clemens, and he got a hold of one, hitting it off the foul pole in right field.
Well, you can see this clearly hits off the foul pole about 7 or 8 feet above the wall. And with the way it caromed, that should tell you enough that it hit a metal surface or a hard surface. It would not carom like that if it hit the padded wall. I'm just surprised that nobody down there and that umpiring crew saw it. I can understand Bob Davidson running out. Sometimes it's tough to make that call. But the whole crew down there, unbelievable.
Well, we saw at the end of the play, Esteban Loaiza, the veteran pitcher, was actually holding up, apparently, the baseball. And the chain of custody of the evidence was questionable at that point as soon as the ball went into the dugout. But we know that he was right because we saw it. That ball, it wasn't even close to the wall. High and tight now to Luis Alfonso Garcia, who got some power, but this is a spot where, because Team Mexico overall as a team does not have a whole lot of power, he's got to get that guy over to third base.
You take a ground ball to second base right now.
Runner at second, nobody out. Down and in. Now, when you're a hitter in a spot like this, Eric, and you want to get that runner over, you're looking for a ball to hit the other way, hit to the right side.
Well, you're looking for a ball to hit to the right side. What I used to do as a hitter is wait as long as I could on the ball. So whether it was inside or outside, I would hit it to the right side.
But now Rogers trying to keep him from doing that. And notice almost every pitch has been to the inside.
Well, see, that's what's always interesting. People talk about, well, just hit the ball to the right side, just get him over. Well, you have to remember, there's a pitcher out there that is trying to prevent you from doing that. So it's not so easy as just going up there and executing.
So you never tried to get the guy over to third.
I tried many times, and I couldn't do it.
You were the RBI guy. Left field. Back. Francoeur. That ball hit pretty well by Luis Alfonso Garcia. Durazo went halfway, and he goes back to second.
And see, now this is a situation where we had Chipper Jones in the previous inning on a ball hit to the wall. He went back with nobody out to tag from second base. Durazo in this situation, as he saw Francoeur camp under the ball, he should be going back to second base right now and tagging so he can get to third with less than 2 outs. Now he's back at second base, 1 out. I mean, that was poor base running in that situation by Rubiel Durazo.
And I'm upset because he didn't tag up and challenge Jeff Francoeur's arm.
Well, he's got a challenge. I mean, I understand where you're going. Jeff Francoeur, unbelievable. We would have seen something, probably a close play at third. But Jeff Francoeur heading back to the wall. That could cost Mexico.
Yeah. He's still at second base. Here's Adrian Gonzalez to try and knock him in. 1-1 the score in the fourth inning. Little tap. That goes foul. Barrett shadowing the ball up the line, and it just kicked off foul in front of him. Jeff Francoeur, he only played in 70 games last year in the big leagues, less than half a season. And he was second in the league in outfield assists, even though a lot of guys were saying after a couple of weeks, don't run against this guy.
Well, one thing, though, the reason he got so many assists at the beginning is you're going to test a young player. And sure, he may throw 2 or 3 or 4 guys out, but then you say, well, maybe that was a fluke. He continue to do it, but he has proven he is one of the top outfielders, and not to test that arm.
1 strike to count. Well, Clemens eases one. Was that off the outside? Apparently off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Roger Clemens in his 4th inning of work. He had a high-stress 3rd inning. 24 pitches in that inning. And now 60 pitches in the game. This is definitely, whether it's his final start ever as a pitcher, we don't know. This is his final outing in this tournament, even if USA goes all the way to Monday's final. Oh, the splitter. 1-2 the count.
I tell you one thing too, along with Francoeur's arm, there are some outstanding throwing arms in that outfield for Team USA. Vernon Wells had 12 outfield assists last year. Only Manny Ramirez had more in the American League. And we know what Griffey Jr. can do. I mean, he still possesses a terrific arm. So even on a base hit right now, we could have a play at the plate.
And Durazo is not a fast runner. Far from it. That's a foul off the left field line. Back into the 2nd down. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There is some tension here that we are all feeling right now. Everybody knows what's at stake. And last night, John, at dinner, Team USA sitting around listening to the reports on the computers, everything, watching the Japan-Korea game. I'm telling you, I saw legs going crazy. I saw fingers patting. I mean, half the team was there, and to a man, I mean, they were excited about it. Peavy was there. He was sweating. Everybody saying, you know what, just give us a chance. They give us a chance, we can still win this thing. Well, to win it, the Rockets are going to have to come up big again. And Eric, as you said in the open, offensively, they need to wake up.
And they really do, and at some point they will, because again, these guys that are in this lineup are accomplished run producers. But this is a short tournament, and that's what it is, a tournament. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. And there are stretches that any player goes through during the season where they struggle for 5, 6, 7 days.
Played in March. You know?
Pitchers are ahead of the hitters.
Oh, yeah.
That's a foul up the first base side. Well, Mark Wicker, the outstanding veteran sports columnist, now with the Orange County Register down here. And I love the way he put it in the paper this morning. He said, talking about USA's problems with runners in scoring position. And he says, that's what happens when you decide trophies with little sentence fragments instead of a 162-game book. And the splitter for the strikeout. 2 down.
Well, when Roger Clemens needs out, he goes to that splitter, and that's a pitch that he developed a number of years ago. When he added that to his arsenal, he became virtually unhittable. You couple that off-speed forkball with that fastball, and as a hitter, very difficult to pick up.
Now, Clemens has been working under duress in each of the last 2 innings. In each one of those innings, the first bat of the inning hit a double. Clemens, of course, in the 3rd inning, it really was a home run, but it came out as a double. And finally, with 2 down, Jorge Cantu got the base hit to knock in that run. Durazo led off this inning with a double. Garcia and Gonzalez have gone down, but here with 2 down, there's a veteran big leaguer, Ojeda, and a base hit to knock in that run as he pulls it foul. Quickly, he's behind in the count, 0-2. Ojeda, who has hit a home run earlier in this tournament on Tuesday. And he's got legitimate power.
Well, a lot of these hitters here at 14 Mexico do have power, and they are very free swingers, which against a guy like Rogers doesn't happen for a lot of success.
Now, the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ojeda. He grounded it short his first time. So this has been a far cry from what we saw with Clemens facing the young, inexperienced South African team. They were just thrilled even to be on the field with Roger Clemens. They had players talking about, you know, he says, I probably shouldn't say this since we're going to play a game today against Roger Clemens. We had the video game back in South Africa, and we all play it, and Roger's on my team. And shortstop, Derek Jeter. And Clemens gets through another crisis. Leadoff double, but no runs. Buck Martinez is going to join us here shortly. Jeff Rancourt coming up. It's 1-1. The World Baseball Classic, United States 1, Mexico 1. As we go to the top of the 5th, and we are very pleased to be joined by the manager of Team USA, Buck Martinez. Buck, welcome. Many thanks.
Thank you, John. Good to be with you.
Now, just first off, Roger Clemens, 4 innings. He's had a couple of tough innings here where they put a guy at second 2 innings in a row. Is he going to be back out there for the 5th inning?
Yes, he will. He's still got some pitches left. I think he's thrown 68 pitches at this point, but we'll get somebody up behind him when he goes back out.
Buck offensively, I mean, to me, it's kind of like a cork being held underwater. Eventually, you guys are going to pop up, huh?
Well, you'd think so. Sooner or later, we're going to get some big run innings because we haven't been able to put anything together. Certainly, Vernon had a good at-bat to drive home Chipper, but we're just missing a few pitches, and I think the guys a little better approach maybe the 3rd time around, and we'll put some crooked numbers up.
Buck, what did you see on that ball Mario Valenzuela hit down the right field line?
I saw it bounce pretty hard off something.
Good answer.
Hey, and Buck, we were talking about it up here. Chipper Jones scored your run, and he did not take the probably the thing you see most often on a deep fly ball. He didn't just go halfway and then trot back. He went back and made sure he got that extra base.
Yeah, he sure did. That was a big play. Obviously, he knew that it was going to be close, and if it was off the wall, he was going to score anyway, but it was a good piece of base running on Chipper's part to get a good read off of that. And when they made the catch in right field, he was right there at second base. He didn't drift at all. He did a good piece of base running.
All right. Well, we're going to let you get back to work. We see Team Mexico's made a pitching change, and many thanks again, Buck, for coming on.
All right, fellas. Thanks.
Buck Martinez, one of our colleagues at ESPN, former manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, a long time. I think he played in the big leagues for 29 years as a catcher of various teams.
You know, John, I think you would agree, too, that he was the perfect choice to bring everything here together. He's so good with the chemistry, bringing a lot of individual talent together as one. And then, you know, the duties he has with the press. I mean, Buck is just, he is tremendous. And he has worked 24 hours a day trying to help Team USA get into the final game.
And it's really a thankless job from the standpoint of if they win it, well, of course they won it. I mean, who couldn't win with a lineup like that? But if they lose, I mean, that's going to take a long time to live down an extreme embarrassment.
You know, and I was told that Buck's not even getting paid for this. He's doing this on his own.
Wow. Just like us.
Yeah, he wanted the extra stress.
There just wasn't enough stress in his life.
So his account was a little low on the stress. So I'm sure he's getting plenty.
Yeah, his hair was brown when it started.
All right, Edgar Gonzalez. He's in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. And Francoeur down the right field line. That's in there. It's going to roll to the wall. Digging it out is Valenzuela. Francoeur, who's a very fast runner, easily into second base with a double.
Chipper Jones has talked many times about the minor league system for the Atlanta Braves and how when the prospects, as Jeff Francoeur is, get to the big leagues, they know how to play the game. All right, he doubles down the right field line, but he wasn't content with a double. He takes off as hard as he can. After he passes the first base back, he takes a look to his friend, third base coach John McLaren. He takes a peek at him there. John McLaren had the stop sign up. I mean, if he would have waved him on, Francoeur was in a position to try to get to third. Now he'll try to get there off of the bat of Michael Barrett.
Well, you love to see that. Right out of the batter's box, he's thinking maybe 3, not just 2. John McLaren is the veteran third base coach for Team USA. Now here's Michael Barrett for the second inning in a row. An Atlanta Brave has started the inning with an extra base hit. Chipper Jones did so in the 4th, and he scored a run. And a run on the count to Michael Barrett.
Here's another thing Buck Martinez did. He promised every player when they signed up they'd get a start. Well, the only guy that didn't have a start coming into play tonight was Jeff Francoeur. He told Jeff Francoeur before the workout yesterday, you're starting. I mean, even if USA was eliminated, he didn't want Francoeur to think that he was slighted. He has been fired up for 24 hours.
That one hit him on the left hand, and Barrett will go to first with leadoff man Michael Young coming up.
Well, what I like about what Michael Barrett did in this situation, he took the ball and then may have glanced his hand a little bit, but to leave no doubt, he started shaking it immediately. Didn't want to let the umpire think about it for any minute, and that is something that a good, smart hitter will do.
So now 2 men on. Now that was spoken by a guy who was a pretty smart hitter in his day, Eric Karras.
I have done that before, and it's something that, look, you're just trying to get down to first base, and it doesn't matter how you get down to first base, just get there.
So you mean you started shaking your head even if it's just close on occasion?
If there were 2 strikes, boy, I'd be shaking like you wouldn't believe.
Back to second by Ojeda. The shortstop, Amezaga, covering, but safely back is Francoeur. Now, if Young, now with the Texas Rangers, the bunt is not a big part of their playbook.
No, I don't think Buck Showalter has that play. This is a tough play, Eric, for a base runner. When it's almost like you bunt through the pitch. If you're at second base, you're Francoeur, you got to get a big lead. You got to take off, and sometimes you get caught.
Now, in a big moment in the game against Japan Sunday, Young was asked to bunt and did not make a very good bunt, and it turned into a forced play at third. But again, I don't think he's often asked to do that. Now they got him hung up. Amezaga runs into third and tags him out as Barrett goes over to second. So just after you spoke about it, Rick, then it happened.
Eric, you know better than I. That is a tough spot for a base runner, and right there, Francoeur, he just got caught guessing.
Well, it is difficult because you're taking that secondary lead, and sometimes you get your weight moving towards third base. And if the hitter does bunt through the ball or doesn't bunt it, the catcher has it. You're moving towards third. You're caught. And the catcher came up in this situation, was able to pick off Jeff Francoeur. In Jeff Francoeur's defense here, at least he stays in a rundown long enough to get Michael Barrett down to second base.
So Francoeur, who was at second with nobody out, is now in the dugout. So a base running mistake, a mistake that Eric Karras had already explained it could easily happen. But now Team USA in all those fundamental situations trying to bunt the runners over, but things have started to crash down around them as Ricardo Rincon, a left-hander, and Oscar Villarreal, a right-hander, both with big league experience, warming up in the Mexican bullpen.
You got to figure that Rincon, the left-hander, is getting ready for Ken Griffey Jr., who also swings from the left side a couple of hitters from now if the inning goes that far.
Young is 0 for 2. Here's Amezaga. Barrett over to third base as Young is retired. He's 0 for 3 in the game. And now Derek Jeter will try and deliver that big 2-out hit, which would mean a run with Barrett over third base. 1-1 the score. Jeter has twice grounded out the short in this game.
Pretty easy to see why Derek Jeter is so popular, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing that he does not do well.
Well, the best way to describe Derek Jeter, he's a winner.
Gonzalez, fastball just off the outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Jeter is hitting a cool .500 for the series, but with just the 1 RBI. 1-1 in the 5th inning. Edgar Gonzalez, the third Team Mexico pitcher of the game. Barrett, the runner at third. That is foul. Right past Ken Griffey Sr., the first base coach, and on down the line where Valenzuela will pick it up. This Ken Griffey had an outstanding big league career, and he was a winner too. He was on those great Big Red Machine clubs with my partner Joe Morgan. There is his son, Ken Griffey Jr. He would be next, 2 down. And Jeter spraying that one foul off to the right.
You know, and the only time it's ever been done in baseball history in the same game as members of the Seattle Mariners in this very same ballpark, senior and junior, hit home runs in the same inning.
Was it back-to-back? Seems to me it was back-to-back.
I think it was. And I know what the senior was saying. His was a 2-run homer because Harold Reynolds, another one of our colleagues, is on base. And senior wants everyone to know that his home run went a lot further than junior's did.
And there's the third generation of Griffeys in the house. Troy Griffey, Ken Griffey's grandson and Ken Griffey Jr.'s son. 1-2 to Jeter. Well, he went with the high hard one, but Jeter would not be suckered into going after it. 2-2.
Derek has tried to go the other way 2 times. He fouled the ball off to the right side. And what he's doing, he's staying back. He's letting the ball get on him before he makes any type of commitment. So the pitch that is out of his zone, he will see and be able to not react.
Crowd alive in Anaheim. 2-2. Oh, that one almost hit him. Glancing off the bat as he tried to check his swing and spin out of the way.
Well, this pitch from Gonzalez just glides up and in. And not really anywhere for him to go. He starts to dive into the ball a bit and realize it coming up and in, and his only way to get out is to spin.
Michael Barrett, the runner at third. Derek Jeter trying to put Team USA ahead. Edgar Gonzalez trying to rig it off the hook. And a slider. After a steady down of fastballs, he tried the breaking ball there. Got it up. Jeter fouls it into the upper deck. And again, the problem, getting the big hit. They're not going to run. It's been all too elusive for Team USA, except for the one game against South Africa. They are 0 for 4 in these kind of crucial at bats in this game. 5 for 38 in the tournament. And he lunged at that low slider, got a piece of it.
I had to figure this was going to be a pitcher's duel, as was the first game when these two teams hooked up. USA won that ball game 2-0. A 2-out home run in the 4th inning by Derek Lee. Chipper Jones hit an opposite field homer, and that was all of the scoring in that ball game.
So the battle continues. Derek Jeter. And the guy was in AAA last year for Arizona's Diamondbacks most of the year. Edgar Gonzalez. He spent considerable time in the big leagues the year before. Crowd alive. Many rising to their feet. To second. Jorge Cantu throws it out. And still, that big hit, they're not going to run. Not there. It is 1-1. Roger Clemens heads back to the mound.
I'm very aggressive. I learned that early in my professional career.
It's like a love-hate situation. You don't like to face him, but if he's pitching for your team, you want him on your side.
This is our game. I don't want anybody beating us.
Roger Clemens before this tournament began, and now he's locked up in a tough one. I mean, a game that may remind him of some of those great battles he got involved in. 2001 World Series, the Yankees and the Diamondbacks. I mean, he pitched beautifully in that World Series. Tight games, though.
I know if you ask him, he would tell you right now that this game means more than any that he's ever been involved in. You say, how can that be? 341 career wins. Well, there's a couple of things that makes tonight's game so interesting. It could be an elimination game for Team USA. It could be the Rockets' last game ever that he pitches in. But you know what? If he gets a win tonight, even with 341 career wins, look at what's on his chest right now. It said US of A. That's why it would be so special to him.
So now Clemens will face Mario Valenzuela, who hit one off the right field foul ball, but was not given a home run for it in the 3rd inning. This time right up the middle on a base hit. Valenzuela is 2 for 2 against Clemens. Roger Clemens, 2003, announced his retirement and had his farewell journey with the Yankees. When he struck out Luis Castillo in the World Series, that looked like the last pitch that he would throw, and they gave him a huge ovation at the home of the Marlins in South Florida, including the Marlins players themselves right in the middle of a World Series game. But as it turned out, we said so long, and it was a bit premature.
Well, I'll tell you, there were a lot of hitters watching that, being very thankful that he was going to be gone and not have to face him again.
Here is Luis Carlos Garcia showing bunt, and that's a strike. He bunted out and missed 0-1.
A little different spot here. You got a guy at the bottom part of the order, a guy who's used to handling the bat. He can get the sacrifice bunt down. Talking with Michael Young before this series started, said, how many times have you had the sacrifice bunt put on? He says, you know, I don't remember it. You know, when you got a guy that, you know, leads the majors in hits, he also led the American League last year in hitting with runners in scoring position.
And that's going to get it done. Chipper Jones over to first base with Michael Young covering. So Valenzuela moves over to second.
You let bunters bunt and you let hitters hit, huh? I mean, this guy can handle the bat. Look at how comfortable he is. You just catch the baseball at the end of the bat. Chipper comes in and his only plays to first base.
Well, I remember one time he's caught that kind of baseball, a little ball. And then last year they were saying that the Chicago White Sox had got rid of some of their power from the year before. We're going to play more little ball. And the manager, Ozzie Guillen, said, no, that's not what we're doing. We're playing smart ball, which we didn't play last year. Well, they were pretty smart. They won the World Series. Here is Amezaga. And ball one. Amezaga has been hit by a pitch, and he's been caught out on strikes. Runner at second in scoring position. Team Mexico's had one hit in 6 of those kind of runners in scoring position at bats tonight. And that is hit number 2, but Valenzuela went back to second, fearing that it might be caught by Jeter. Griffey will run the ball back to the infield. Valenzuela has to stop at third.
Valenzuela in this situation at second base goes back to the bag, as well he should. That's a line drive. Derek Jeter almost catches it, and that is the right play. Now it turns out that he only gets to third base, and of course if he was going on contact he would have scored. But 9 out of 10 times that line drive is caught by the shortstop. He's doubled up.
Scott Shields of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim warming up in the USA bullpen. Roger Clemens is over 70 pitches for this game, and he is finished in this game. Buck Martinez makes the call with Jorge Cantu coming up, Mexico's #1 hitter. And Clemens departs maybe for the last time, and the big crowd here at Angel Stadium salutes the Rocket. But he leaves in a tight spot. Runners at first and third, 1 out. Cantu coming up as Shields comes in. It's the World Baseball Classic presented by Taco Bell. Team USA, Team Mexico. And Team USA trying to get itself into the Final Four in this first World Baseball Classic. Right now they're in a 1-1 tie against this very tough Team Mexico. And Scott Shields, the outstanding setup reliever for the Angels in the American League, comes out with runners at first and third. He had no margin for error at all right here.
Well, especially with the guy standing at home plate being Cantu, who had 117 RBIs this year for Tampa Bay. These two guys know each other. They faced each other during the season.
Middle infield double play depth for Team USA. And the slider in the dirt for ball 1. Now Cantu has gotten the only hit to knock in a run in this game, and he did it with a 2-out single to center that he kind of muscled into the outfield back in the 3rd inning. Amezaga got a hit with a runner in scoring position in this inning, but the runner was not able to score. Look out!
Boy, he is real lucky here. Cantu never saw this baseball. Because of that, he never reacted until the ball was by him. Wow.
Well, unfortunately, it was over his head, because if that was right at him, it would not have been good.
The runners, Mario Valenzuela, third base, Amezaga, first base, and it's back to the breaking ball. And it is a called strike. Now it is 2-1. Now, the runner at first base, you kind of have to keep an eye on him, too. He's not a prolific base stealer, but Amezaga, if you give him a shot, he'll go ahead and take second base. Did not keep that double play in order. Broken back. that is foul. Over the head of Chipper Jones, who had that one covered. From high above Angel Stadium, these views courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and its fleet of airships, reminding you to travel with peace of mind on Goodyear's Forterra tire, featuring silent armor technology.
The strength of Scott Shields is his sinking fastball. One thing that Cantu did not do well a year ago, he grounded into 24 double plays. You're trying to figure out right now which side of the plate, Barrett and Shields having a long conversation, which side of the plate do we go to try to get that ground ball. One pitch, get 2 outs, and keep the score tied.
Barrett, after a quick conference at the mouth with Shields.
Rick, I think you got to go down and in on this guy. I mean, he's just so strong. He's got such good power to the opposite field. Maybe run that sinker down and in, see if you can get him to hit it at Chipper. Maybe get him to swing over it and miss with a strikeout.
Well, you absolutely run that sinker in on the hands or a curveball out of the zone away.
There goes Ameziga from first, and it's the breaking ball, the curveball in the dirt outside, and a steal for Ameziga. Now a ground ball could mean a run.
John, you were right. When you don't pay attention to him, he's got the speed to go. And we have seen with Joaquin Estrada throughout this series. He is not afraid to take a chance to make a difference. He is very aggressive as the manager for Team Mexico.
There is Joaquin Estrada back here in Southern California. 3-2 the count. The breaking ball, big chop. That's going to get the run home. Jeter's only play to first, and Teixeira digs it out of the dirt for the out there, but Valenzuela scores. Ameziga over to third, and Cantu's got his second RBI of the game, and Team Mexico has a 2-1 lead.
Well, there's not anything that Derek Jeter can do other than come in, field the ball, and make a play at first base. Mark Teixeira does a great job of digging the ball out of the dirt, because if that ball gets by him, Ameziga just continues on and scores, and it would be 2 runs instead of just 1.
Here's Vinny Castilla, and the hook, it is on 1. Castilla has singled and struck out. That's an excellent point, because that was not just one of those little short hops that just pops right into the glove.
Well, when you think of Mark Teixeira, everybody knows about his offensive accolades. This man was a Gold Glove winner last year in the 05 season.
That's a foul. Now 0-2 to Vinny Castilla. Vinny is going to be with the San Diego Padres this year. Last year he was with the Washington Nationals, and seemed to have his best years as a big leaguer with the Colorado Rockies. This guy is one of the premier third basemen in just terms of a great arm, sure hands. 0-2 to count. High fly ball. Griffey, plenty of room, and the inning is over. But Team Mexico has gone back ahead. The big hitters are coming up. Griffey, Chipper Jones, Alex Rodriguez. Team USA down 2-1. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe and Eric Karras, along with Duke Castiglione and Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. They've got their own booth enjoying this one. Team USA and Team Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. Griffey facing Ricardo Rincon. A little bloop along the right field line, and it is caught by Cantu. And so Griffey is gone on 1 pitch, facing the veteran left-hander Ricardo Rincon, long-time big leaguer. And he gets Griffey just like that. Griffey had gotten him in one of the few at-bats he'd ever had against Rincon in the past.
Yeah, but Rincon for a long, long time has been doing exactly that. Coming on, facing the toughest left-hand hitter for the opposing lineup, and more times than not with Rincon having success.
Now here's Chipper Jones right to the shortstop. And Ameziga throws him out. 2 pitches, and 2 of the biggest bats in the Team USA lineup have been shut down. 2 down. Coverage of the World Baseball Classic presented by Taco Bell will continue on Saturday. The semifinals on ESPN and ESPN HD. Cuba and the Dominican Republic will meet at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. What a game that promises to be. And then Korea will take on either Team USA or Japan at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Remember, these games are also available in Spanish on ESPN Deportes. And what a job they've done. Every game in this tournament carried by ESPN Deportes. And right next to us on Deportes tonight, the great Hall of Fame right-hander, Juan Marichal. And he must have had a few thoughts of his own, seeing the great Roger Clemens, knowing that Roger's soon to join him as one of the baseball immortals in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. 2-0 nobody on. Here is Alex Rodriguez, and the count is 2-0. And there is Juan Marichal on the left-hand side of the screen as we take a look.
He still looks great, doesn't he?
I mean, he looks like he can still go out there and get a couple of hitters out.
Well, we spoke to him earlier and asked him what his prediction was for who would win this tournament. Not surprisingly, he said the Dominican.
I mean, I think they have to be favored. What a lineup.
They do, as you say, they have to be favored, but after watching Team Korea 3 ball games, I would not bet against that ball club.
Now, that was not an upset with Team Korea beating Team USA. I mean, it was a complete win. They were impressive. They outpitched, they outhit, and they outfielded Team USA in that game.
It was not a close game. And it went 7-1 in the 9th inning, and Team USA got a couple of runs after it was already pretty much over.
Well, Korea has got great pitching, and their defense has been flawless. They have not made an error yet in this tournament.
3-1 the count to Alex Rodriguez. 2-1. Mexico leading the U.S. There is Vinny Castillo. And Ricardo Rincon with a routine inning against 3 sluggers. 2-1 Mexico. Let's take it to the studios now with Scott Van Pelt and a Sports Center 30 at 30. The World Baseball Classic from Anaheim. I'm John Miller with Rick Sutcliffe and Eric Karras along with Duke Castiglione. Here's Brian Fuentes, the fine closer of the Colorado Rockies, on here in the 6th inning to face Rubiel Durazo. 1 pitch, and there is Teixeira to the bag. He'll take it himself, and 1 away. Durazo now 1 for 3. Here is the Taco Bell pitching summary for this one. Clemens, perhaps his final game. 4 in the 3rd innings, 2 runs, 6 hits allowed, 73 pitches total. Oliver Perez started for Team Mexico, went 3 solid innings, and allowed just 1 run and 1 hit.
Really only 2 problems for Roger Clemens. That was Valenzuela, who scored both runs, and Cantu, who picked up both RBIs. Right now, that man, Oliver Perez, is in line to pick up the win.
And one of the oddities of this tournament being played at this time of the year as Garcia takes a ball, 1 ball, no strikes. I mean, Roger Clemens in that 5th inning had almost the equivalent of what you might have expected from a Roger Clemens in the 7th or the 8th inning. I mean, he was running out of gas. And it's spring training still.
Well, it is spring training, and that's something that, as viewers, we have to be conscious of. I mean, we're talking about Team Cuba. They're in the middle of their season right now. They have actually stopped their season to play in this Classic. Japan, Korea, they're well into their spring training right now. And those things have to be taken into consideration when analyzing what Team USA and some of the other teams are doing.
Luis Alfonso Garcia, the count 2-1 now, facing Brian Fuentes. Another lefty, Adrian Gonzalez, is on deck. 2-1. Mexico leading the USA. In the last of the 6th inning, 1 out and nobody on. Just a little bit low, apparently. And now it is 3-1. The semifinals on Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Cuba and República Dominicana. Bartolo Colon will make the start for the Dominican. He pitched real well in this tournament. Teixeira and his Rangers teammate Young, they looked at each other for a moment. And Young really thought Teixeira was going to go for it. He was a little surprised when Teixeira said, "No, go ahead." He caught up to it.
Well, that's the beauty of having the 3rd and the 2nd baseman. The first baseman right there may be the bigger, taller guy, but if the 2nd baseman calls you off, 2nd baseman's ball.
So 2 men are gone. Here is Adrian Gonzalez. And those are two of the outstanding young players who are really, you're hard to call them young anymore. I mean, they're established big leaguers now. And probably going to be perennial all-stars for years to come. Teixeira and Young, what a beautiful partnership they forged in that Rangers lineup.
I really like what they've done, Eric, with that whole staff. I mean, you had Kevin Millwood, they've got Adam Eaton. There's a chance that maybe at the All-Star break they could pick up the Rocket. To me, they've become a contender.
Adrian Gonzalez has struck out twice, and the ball just off the outside from Fuentes. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, you know that there are people that I've talked with who say that there were those in the Rangers upper front office believe that Roger Clemens may well be a Ranger and join all those guys you're talking about. Maybe come July 1st, somewhere in there.
Now, everything that I hear is exactly that. He's going to spend time with his family. He's going to stay in shape. There's a list of 4 teams right now, probably not hard to predict. The Texas, Houston, Boston, New York. He'll do a little inventory check with his body right at the All-Star break, and then whichever team he feels like can win it all.
And that's up and in to Adrian Gonzalez. So there is a school of thought that goes. Roger, his body was not there for him in the World Series last year.
He lost a leg.
And that at this age, maybe just a half a year will be fine, and then he'll be strong for those final big pitches in October. 3-1 the count. Now 3-2.
Well, it does make sense. And if ever there was a player that deserved that opportunity or could dictate it, it's Roger Clemens. And not only what he does on the field, but the people he brings to the stadium. He has as large an impact as anybody in baseball.
Miguel Ojeda on deck, but you saw Houston screwed up in the bullpen just in case. 2 down, nobody on. And the count still 3-2 now to Adrian Gonzalez. There's Ojeda. So we keep saying goodbye to Roger. And we were all up applauding him as he walked off the field tonight. But maybe we'll see him again around 1st of July.
And talking with a lot of Team USA players that talk to him, even Roger's not sure right now what's going to happen.
Did he swing? Yes, he did. Play umpire Brian Knight made the call. It's been a long night for Gonzalez. That's the 3rd time that he has struck out. On to the 7th. Vernon Wells and Mark Teixeira coming up 2-1 Mexico. They're ready to collide Saturday in San Diego, Cuba and the Dominican Republic. And what games they had in their elimination games to get to that semifinal. What a game last night. Just a game to remember. Cuba and Puerto Rico, and then the Dominican got locked up with Venezuela in one of those down-to-the-wire games and beat them 2-1. So here they are, and we'll have it for you. That one is caught at 3rd by Castilla on a hop. And he throws out Vernon Wells. What a play. Vernon Wells hit a smash. It looked like a base hit to left field, and Vinny Castilla intercepted it.
Well, Vinny Castilla has been doing this his entire career. Obviously, he's gotten up there in age, but still has the reflexes, this great hands. Well, he was signed as a shortstop and broke in with the Atlanta Braves, playing in the middle of the field. Over the past few years, he's lost a bit of the range, but still has the unbelievable hands.
Now Mark Teixeira, and he's looking for his first hit in this tournament. He is 0 for 2 tonight. That's a foul, facing the right-hander Oscar Villarreal, formerly with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Villarreal is the 5th Team Mexico pitcher utilized tonight. You see his numbers last year for Arizona. He was coming back from serious arm trouble.
I remember a couple of years ago his nickname was Everyday Oscar.
And he was in like 84 games 2 years ago, or 3 years ago with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then the next year he had a hard time lifting that right arm consistently.
Well, it was actually a major league record for a rookie, the number of appearances, and that's going to lead to some injuries.
Mark Teixeira, the possible time run. Team USA trailing 2-1. And that is down the line. You see that 94 miles with some sink to it. 1-2 the count. Now Japan, although they've won 1 and 2, could still advance rather than Team USA. Mexico has now been eliminated. But if Mexico wins 2-1, which is the score right now, Japan would advance. That is strike three call on a high breaking ball. That is the first strikeout by a Team Mexico pitcher tonight.
Like you said, he just comes back with it on the outer half of the plate. 94-mile-an-hour sinker, you start to respect that when that ball started up. It's almost like Teixeira gave up on it. It came back, caught the top of the zone, another out, and another out closer to victory for Mexico.
Now Jeff Francoeur is into the first play, and he is hit a double. And it's on one, a hard slider. Now Francoeur also is involved in one of the key plays of this game. Team USA had runners at first and second, nobody out. The top of the order up in the 5th inning, and he got picked off at second base as Michael Young was up there trying to bunt, and he chases that slider 0-2.
Well, he did get picked off at second base, but it wasn't simply as if he was sleeping out there. There was a bunt play on, and as a runner at second, your job is to get a good lead, and sometimes you get a bit too far off, and if the batter bunts through it, you're in no man's land. It happened to Jeff Francoeur.
And the slider for the strikeout. An 8-pitch inning for Oscar Villarreal, including 2 strikeouts. Team Mexico still leading 2-1 as we go to the last half of the 7th inning. It is the first World Baseball Classic, and classic is the operative word. It seems like one game after the other in this tournament, especially in these final few days leading to the semifinals. Each game has been a classic. 2-1, Team Mexico leading here, the 7th inning stretch, and we're pleased to be joined now by the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, Mr. Bud Selig. And first off, Mr. Commissioner, congratulations. This tournament, the first one, and it has really been extraordinary.
Well, thank you, John. A pleasure to be with you. This is quite. It's incredible. The emotion is just awesome. You know, you watch it on television and you see all the emotion being displayed, but when you're in the ballpark, there's an air of electricity tonight that is just really remarkable. And I understand that last night was the same thing.
Same thing, and the same thing in San Juan for both of the elimination games down there. An extraordinary game there last night. Cuba and Puerto Rico, and the day before Venezuela and the Dominican. So has it exceeded expectations?
It has, and you know, I was very optimistic. Now, you and I talked about it before, and I really thought this was a miracle. John, I never envisioned anything like this. This is just remarkable.
Houston Street of the Oakland Athletics, the new pitcher for Team USA, Miguel Ojeda of the Colorado Rockies, leading it off. He has twice grounded out to short. Street, the 4th pitcher for Team USA, trying to hold the line with Mexico leading 2-1. Houston Street got the rather unorthodox looking delivery. That's a foul out of play. Now, what about if this score stays the way it is? You'll have a 3-way tie for that second qualifying spot in the semifinals in San Diego. Mexico, Team USA, and Japan. And the way that will be decided is a series of tiebreakers.
That's right.
Now, that seems to go against the grain for people who follow Major League Baseball.
Well, it does, and you know, there are a lot of things. Look, this was the first time for the Classic, and it's been so spectacular that I can't second guess. But you know, we got some work to do. We have 2009 will be the next Classic, and I think there's work to be done on things like tiebreaking. But look, in a quick, short series, you need to have some tiebreakers to move on.
And Street is too low with the ball, and now it's 3-1. Now, that's the other aspect. I mean, Chipper Jones and some of the players have said they wish it could be played at a different time of the year. And I know you had many considerations in terms of putting it in spring training. Is it possible that it would be later in spring training or a different time of the year when you do it in 3 years from now?
Well, you know, we'll review all that, John. I can't see it in November. Everybody's against that. Players have played a lot and pitched a lot and 200-plus innings. And, you know, you have 22 clubs that are done on September 30th, October 1st. They're sitting for 4 to 6 weeks. And pretty much out of shape with it. During the season doesn't seem to work. But look, we'll consider all the options and go back, because this thing has been so remarkable. You know, it isn't only the success it's had here, which has exceeded everyone's expectation, but the success it's had around the world has been just remarkable. Japan, Korea, certainly Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico, and Venezuela, and Mexico, and Italy. I'm anxious to go to Europe and start playing some games. So this is the first step in, I think, a very dramatic phase for Major League Baseball.
We have to learn about the great Italian star, Mike Piazza.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But who obviously enjoyed himself immensely, and it was great.
He really did. Now here is Mario Valenzuela, who has hit a double, which really was a home run off the right field foul pole. And that leads to another question that I'm going to get to in a moment. But along the lines of what we were talking about, perhaps possible changes in the format for this tournament when it's played 3 years from now. I heard that the baseball officials down in Cuba, they'd like to host some of these tournament games 3 years from now. Is that a possibility?
Well, we'll look at everything. You know, there are a lot of political things involved in the process, but we'll look at everything, Tom. Absolutely.
All right. How about Japan? Now, the 4 teams in the Asian group met in Tokyo to start this tournament off.
Right.
Could there be more games in Tokyo 3 years
well,
from now?
Again, it's such a great mecca for Major League for baseball worldwide, and whether we could practically work it all out is something we have to determine.
All right, now Barrett back to the mound. It's up to Houston Street as Joe Nathan starts to warm up in the bullpen. Nobody out, and a runner at first. Mexico leading Team USA 2-1 here in the last of the 7. Now, getting back to the umpire, we don't have the regular Major League umpires, which I know you were hoping for, everybody was hoping for. Are we going to have Major League umpires the next time this tournament unfolds?
Well, we have 3 years to try to solve that problem. But, you know, controversies are part of life in baseball, have been for 100 and some years. And even last year during the playoffs and World Series, you'll remember we did have some controversies.
I remember that.
So I hope that it can all be worked out, and I know a lot of us were disappointed it wasn't, but as I say, our umpires' calls and controversy has been part of our life for over 100 years.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Valenzuela. Luis Carlos Garcia on deck, nobody out. And Valenzuela showing bunt right there. He kind of gave it away without a pitch even being thrown.
Oh, he certainly did.
Now, Mr. Commissioner, you're talking about controversies and whatnot, and it seems like every year for several years we'd see you and we'd have to talk to you about Pete Rose. Now, Barry Bonds is very much in the news once again. And what's the story with these books coming out and these apparent revelations about Bonds and the steroid use? As that ball is bunted, and Chipper Jones over to Young covering first, and Ojeda has been moved over to second base by Valenzuela. So I know there's been a lot of talk that you're going to review this situation, and what's the status of that?
Well, that is the status of it. I said a week ago, Wednesday, it's 8 days ago, that I was going to review all relative material. Some people have said, well, they're waiting to read the book and so on and so on. The book is just one very small part of it. We're going to review everything, and frankly, I've been considering all of our options and what to do and what's really in the best interest of the sport, and no decision has been made, contrary to much of what's been written and said here the last couple of days. But I will make one, and then we'll announce exactly how we're going to proceed.
The New York Daily News said that we're definitely going to have some sort of an investigation that will be undertaken. Here's the pitch now. That's up and away to Luis Carlos Garcia.
As I say, no decision's been made, but we're giving it a lot of thought, a lot of attention, and there's a lot of work already gone into it, but we'll announce a decision at the appropriate time.
All right. So you're not saying you'll announce a decision in a week from now, or 2 weeks, but at sometime in the future?
That's absolutely right.
And the count now, 1 ball and 1 strike. And what about Team USA? Are they going to be in that Final Four, or is Team Mexico going to eliminate them here?
Well, this is fascinating. I'll tell you, it's remarkable. Everybody told me, going in that Mexico didn't have enough pitching, and USA shouldn't have a problem. But these games have been so hard fought, and the level of competition for March really has stunned me, I must say. And so we shall see. This is Houston Street's got to keep them close, and then we'll see what happens.
Going on, and Street doesn't look quite as sharp as we're used to seeing him.
Exactly right.
Usually has outstanding control. Amezaga, the leadoff hitter, is on deck. Luis Carlos Garcia of the Veracruz Reds in the Mexican League at the plate. And it is now 2-2. So the state of the game otherwise, what do you think? Roger Clemens, is he coming back this summer somewhere?
Well, I don't know. You know, you keep hearing the names, but I'll tell you, Roger can pitch. He's such a great pitcher, and he has been such a, I know he's clearly on the way to the Hall of Fame, and he's really been amazing. State of the game, never been more popular, never better. We'll set another attendance record. The state of the game really is, we're at a level of popularity, John, we've never been before. We have 4 or 5 clubs sold out for the season. Ticket sales in every franchise I talk to are at record highs. So this is going to be a remarkable year. And when I look at the divisions, I see more competitive balance, parity, whatever you want to do, which is great. I think we're going to have great races, and great races for the division championships, and great races for the wild card. So this should be another really a record year for us in every way.
Well, and in the midst of these record attendance figures and the great interest in the sport, that despite the fact that the steroids controversy continues to rage, you had the congressional hearings last spring.
Yeah, March 17th, tomorrow's the anniversary, and I remember everybody saying to me, John, well, you have this dark cloud, and this is really going to be tough. And certainly we dealt with it, by the way. We have the toughest steroid program now in American sports. Testing for amphetamines, doing things we've never done. I'm very proud of what we've done. But in spite of all that, we set another attendance record last year, and the sport had a remarkable year. We'll do it again this year, I can assure you.
Right. Now, Barrett again out to talk to Houston Street. Runner at second, wide. 2-2 the count to Luis Carlos Garcia. But now with Barry Bonds approaching the Babe Ruth home run figure, you know, you grew up with that. I grew up with that. Baseball fan. Those were numbers that we all had him sort of emblazoned in our brains. 714, a hallowed figure. Henry Aaron caught it, passed it, and he's the all-time record holder. But Bonds is just a few home runs behind the Babe right now.
Well, that's right. We grew up with Babe Ruth's record, and of course I in particular grew up with Hank Aaron, and watched Hank Aaron from 1954 on have an amazing career. So, but you know, everybody will tell you records are made to be broken, but we'll see what happens.
All right, but because of this cloud that seems to be lingering over Barry Bonds and how he's achieved all these great things, at the moment that he ties the Babe or moves ahead of him, at the same time, it's going to be a sort of a mixed reception for Barry Bonds in terms of how people perceive that. This game of ours that has so very much to do with counting levels of achievement and comparing them from one year to the next.
Well, there's no question. Records mean, after all, the home run record, the single season and career are the most important, famous records in American sports. There's no question about that. And people have very intense feelings, not only generation to generation, but in this case, there's controversy now, and I understand people's feelings.
Amezaga, the hitter, after Garcia struck out, Amezaga, he got a big hit back in the 5th inning to help set up the go-ahead run. He is 1 for 2 in the game. A runner at second. Ojeda, 2 down. 7th inning. Mexico already leading Team USA 2-1. The commissioner of baseball, Bud Selig, is here with us. And on deck, Jorge Cantu, and fans around the ballpark now with conflicting cheers. Some USA, some Mexico. We've got fans, both teams here, and last night a huge contingent of fans of the Korean team.
This is some atmosphere, John, isn't it?
This is great.
Wow.
And I'm thinking that it's kind of cool, this saying so long to Roger Clemens. Every couple of years, I'm getting into it now. And I'm looking forward to saying so long to him and then watching him pitch again.
Yeah, well, it's entirely possible, too. He's great to be around, too, I tell you, in every way. On the field, off the field. Amazing athlete.
Houston Street. Center field. Griffey coming on. That's going to be in the glove, and the inning is over. Still 2-1 as we head to the 8th. Commissioner Bud Selig, many thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, John. Pleasure to see you as always.
All right. Now to the 8th inning. Barrett, Michael Young, Derek Jeter coming up. We're not far from Disneyland. Over just a few blocks from here, and that's the California Adventure at Disneyland. And the Team USA is in the World Baseball Classic Adventure right now. It's a little bit like a Indiana Jones adventure for them right now. They have some escaping to do. They need to win this game. Time to look now at our game track, brought to you by Intel Centrino Duo, as Oscar Villarreal faces the Boston Red Sox catcher Jason Varitek, a switch hitter batting left-handed. He is pinch hitting for Michael Barrett. He's had a home run, and what a dramatic home run it was. A spectacular grand slam against Team Canada at Chase Field in Phoenix. It propelled them back into that game last week. And that one spins through there for a called strike into the 0-2.
You know, but I think the key too, John, is the fact, like you said, that was last week. You know, at bats have been few and far between for these catchers because the 3 of them have been on a platoon system.
And Buck Martinez wants to win, but he also wants to take care of everybody's players. All these managers and teams will have players in this tournament, and he wants to not do anything to set these guys back in their normal progression through spring training. As Varitek got sawed off on that one, 1 away. Jorge Cantu has driven in both of the runs for Team Mexico. So we've been talking about tiebreakers and all of this sort of thing. If Mexico wins this game, now that the score is 2-1, we can tell you, based on all the tiebreakers and possibilities, at this point, because of the score being the way it is, if the USA does not win this game, they do not go to San Diego. Team Japan will go, as De La Rosa is up in the Team Mexico bullpen now, the left-hander, Jorge De La Rosa of the Milwaukee Brewers. Here is Michael Young. We're in the 8th inning. Oscar Villarreal has retired 4 in a row, coming out of the bullpen to start the 7th inning. That after Ricardo Rincon retired the second order on 7 pitches in the 6th inning.
You know, if you're Team USA and you needed somebody on base, you can't start with a much better spot than what they've got here. You got Michael Young, you got Derek Jeter. Buck Martinez has people in positions to succeed, but once again, this game always has been and always will be about players.
Little tap. Ojeda. He got him. What a play. Ojeda wanted it. It was not easy, but he did it acrobatically and effectively.
Well, it really was a great play by Ojeda. It looked like Villarreal was going to take the ball. He was coming in, but then all of a sudden he peels off, and Ojeda has to go further out and gets it and throws it off the one leg. An unbelievable arm strength, excellent accuracy. In that situation, the catcher must have called off the pitcher.
So 2 down. And here is Derek Jeter. We have seen so much spectacular defense from players all around the world in this tournament. Now Jeter 0 for 3, 3 ground outs in this game. And that is in there for a called strike.
I mean, this is dominating as far as Team Mexico's pitching has been. They have not hit a ball out of the infield, that being Team USA, since Francoeur hit the double back in the 5th.
Wow. Villarreal, who's going to be with the Atlanta Braves this year, and they have to like what they're seeing from him tonight. Jeter got jammed on that one. Now this is a spot where, when you go back to all those World Series, 96, 98, 99, 2000, where we all got used to seeing Jeter do something big late in a tight game.
Yeah, but at that point he had about 750 to 800 at bats, including spring training. Right now he's got 20.
Exactly right. And as a hitter, it always took time to get going. Pitchers would always be ahead of hitters. And you couple that with the fact that these guys haven't been getting consistent at bats day after day.
Oh, right there. Outside call, strikes are called. It's another 8-pitch inning for Villarreal. That's 11 in a row retired by Team Mexico. 3 outs of life remain to Team USA. They are trailing 2-1. World Baseball Classic, 2-1 Mexico leading Team USA. We go to the last of the 8th. And again, the view from high above Angel Stadium from the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company and its fleet of airships, reminding you to travel with peace of mind on Goodyear's Forterra tire, featuring silent armor technology. There's Jason Varitek staying in to catch after he pinch hit for Barrett. And Joe Nathan, the outstanding closer of the Minnesota Twins, on the pitch. And a foul into the play up the back. Jorge Cantu. Cantu has driven in both of Team Mexico's runs in a 2-1 Team Mexico lead.
Yep, and both times it has been Mario Valenzuela that he has driven in. I think the key is that in the 3rd and 5th inning, Valenzuela led off those innings and was on base. When you produce the run, you manufacture, Cantu's big.
I mean, that's been that kind of a game. It's like the old Koufax Drysdale Dodgers of the 60s, right? I mean, get somebody on, steal a bag, move them over, hit a fly ball or whatever, and let the pitchers do the rest. But Team USA got a leadoff double from Frank Pur in the 5th inning, and they did not turn that into a run. And that run is the difference in this game.
You go to the booth right next to us. You know, Juan Marichal had some of those duels with Koufax and Drysdale.
And those guys, they finished it themselves, too. I mean, Marichal sitting next to it, year after year would have 28 to 30 complete games. That was a swing. Bob Davidson said that was a swing. Strike 3.
Well, it's just tough to stop the swing. Looked like he did go. Bob Davidson made the right call. Usually as a hitter, once you commit, very difficult to stop.
Vinny Castilla now against Joe Nathan. Nathan, 70 innings pitched last year, only 47 hits allowed. And that slider in there for a strike. I'm looking at stats. That's the first stat I like to look at. I mean, that guy is extremely tough to hit.
Well, he is, and he came over from the San Francisco Giants originally as a starter.
And that slider is, I had arm trouble. At one time, as he was making his way back from a guy who had been a 95-mile-an-hour pitcher, coming back from the arm surgery, he was throwing 83 miles an hour. One night for Fresno, he gave up 4 consecutive home runs. And the crowd was not happy about it. And he was called about every name in the book by that unhappy crowd. And knowing what he went through, it's great to see Nathan become a great closer and one of the top closers in the game.
I don't think he's given up 4 home runs total since then, has he?
I don't think so.
An all-star last year. He's special.
Of course, he didn't have to face Eric Karras. 1-2 the count to Vinny Castillo. Vinny, left center. And that one started knuckling on front court, but he knelt down to make the catch. 2 down here in the 8th. In the 9th inning, as we look ahead a little bit, in the bullpen for Team Mexico, there is action with Luis Ayala getting ready perhaps to close this game, but he'll have to face Ken Griffey Jr., Chipper Jones, and Alex Rodriguez, some of the greatest sluggers in the game.
Well, you talk about earning a save. This is going to be a definite earned save, having to face 3 potential Hall of Famers.
And there's a strike to Rubiel Durazo. On the outside, Durazo is flied out. He's hit a double and grounded out. 1 for 3. 2-1, Team Mexico leading Team USA. I mean, the 2 games that these clubs have faced each other in this tournament, last week in Phoenix and now tonight, there have been a grand total of 5 runs scored by the 2 teams combined in those 2 games. Team USA beat them 2-0 in the first game of the tournament last week in Phoenix. Team Mexico leading 2-1 tonight.
And both of those 2 runs scored on home runs. It wasn't as if Team USA strung together some hits.
Joe Nathan blows him away. 2 strikeouts, 3 up, 3 down. Last chance for Team USA. Griffey, Chipper Jones, Alex Rodriguez. They need a run to stay alive or they're going home. It's the World Baseball Classic presented by Taco Bell. We're at Angel Stadium in Anaheim. Team Mexico trying to pull off what would have to be considered a major upset, not only to defeat Team USA, but to knock them out of the tournament. Cuba and the Dominican, they're in head-to-head Saturday in San Diego. And it is either Japan or the USA against Korea in Game 2 Saturday night in the semifinals. And the big crowd, somewhere in the neighborhood of 37,000, 38,000, I would guess. Many on their feet now trying to inspire Team USA or inspire Team Mexico to hold on. Jorge De La Rosa, the new pitcher, a left-handed specialist, on to face Ken Griffey Jr. Chipper Jones, the switch hitter. Alex Rodriguez, the right-handed slugger, behind him. Griffey is 1 for 3 tonight. That's his fastball for a strike. Team USA has not had a hit since Jeff Francoeur led off the 5th inning with a double. They have not had a base runner since the 5th inning.
Yeah, it's not that hard to figure. I mean, Team Mexico keeps throwing big league names at you.
Slider right along the line, but it's a foul ball. Hugging the line, protecting against the extra base hit. Adrian Gonzalez is a very fine defensive player.
And that's what you do late in the game when you're up by 1 run. You guard the line. Sometimes people get upset because you give up that base hit. But something like that, where the ball does go down the line, Gonzalez in that situation, if it would have been fair, would have been able to make the play. Turns out to be a smart move.
Now if you're a hitter, this crowd is on its feet chanting USA. Do you have to block that out? Is it possible to block it out? The big curveball for the ball, 1-2.
Well, you get to a point where you don't let that bother you. Now you are aware of the situation, and I'm sure these guys, as they go to the plate, realize the magnitude of these at-bats, and you can't help but have the adrenaline pumping while you're at home plate.
Ken Griffey Jr. 1-2 the count. Another curveball in the dirt.
Right along with that, John, you got a guy on the mound throwing 96 miles an hour with a knee-buckling curveball. De La Rosa, he's as tough as they get for a left-handed hitter.
And the crowd with its chant mixed in with the USA Mexico. 2-2 the count for Ken Griffey Jr. Leading it off of the night for Team USA. Trailing Team Mexico 2-1. De La Rosa will try it again. Back to the fastball, and that is too low.
Well, and for all the naysayers of the World Baseball Classic, I would challenge anybody to buy a ticket and go to the event in San Diego, and you would be a big supporter. I guarantee you that.
3-2. And the low fastball, close enough with 2 strikes, I guess, to protect, but it might have been out of the strike zone.
Well, everybody on that dugout for Team USA is checking it out, and John, they're doing it on the top step. You think this has not been important? You think this isn't exciting?
Foul tip into the glove of Ojeda. And the great pitching for Mexico tonight continues.
That's why you do it. That's why you bring a left-hander in to face a left-handed hitter. You put him in a position where he has the best chance to succeed. You take a look, Griffey Jr. has not seen that much of De La Rosa. Anytime you throw that hard, you've got the hook. Very careful, you hit a spot like that, you're going to succeed.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're throwing from the right or left side. With that type of pitch right there, that's deadly for a hitter.
Now Chipper Jones, the great Atlanta Braves slugger, a switch hitter. Chipper Jones facing De La Rosa. He's only faced him one other time in his career, and is 0 for 1 against him. Chipper, of course, as with Griffey, lots of power. USA down by a run. And now the count, 2-0.
Alex Rodriguez won't face De La Rosa. I guarantee you that. He's only faced him once, but in that one at bat, he hit a home run. That's why you got the right-hander in Team Mexico's bullpen ready to go for the next hitter.
Luis Ayala, the right-hander up in the pen. And a slider, too low. It's 3-0.
This is one of the strengths of the American Ball Club, is the ability to hit home runs. They have power, and that has allowed him to come back in some of these closer games in which they've competed.
He got the green light. It'll be up to Chipper whether he takes a swing or not.
It's 2-0. And Team USA, after having 12 of their members retired consecutively, they get a base runner. The possible tying runners aboard. And there comes Joaquin Estrada, the manager of Team Mexico. And there's the call for Ayala from the bullpen. 1 out. The possible tying run at first base. And the American League MVP coming up for Team USA. 2-1 Mexico, and we'll be right back. The World Baseball Classic tonight in Anaheim. And Team USA, the host team, it's their party. And they are trailing 2-1 to Team Mexico. Mexico eliminated earlier tonight when Team USA scored a run. Now, Team Mexico trying to eliminate Team USA and send Japan to the Final Four. And there, from the Washington Nationals, is Luis Ayala in relief to try and save this one. Alex Rodriguez coming up with Chipper Jones, a possible time run at first base. 38,284, the paid crowd, everybody on their feet here at Angel Stadium tonight. A-Rod is 0 for 2 with a walk in this game. He had the winning hit in the 9th inning Sunday against Team Japan. Slider off the outside.
Sinker slider pitcher on the mound, trying to get a ground ball here, a double play to end it. Alex Rodriguez's job is to put some air underneath it.
48 homers last year and 130 RBIs for the Yankees as he won the American League MVP. And sinker too low. So he's got everything in his favor right now. 2-0 the count. Vernon Wells of the Blue Jays on deck. Third baseman Vinny Castilla hugs the line as Joaquin Estrada looks on from the Team Mexico dugout. 2-0. Came right after.
I'll tell you what, this isn't that 94 that Villarreal had going with sink on it. That was 91 and really didn't move a whole lot. A-Rod would like to see one more of these. Take a look at him, staying inside of it, just a little bit off as far as his timing was concerned.
So Ayala was living dangerously that time. 2-1 the count. 1 out in the 9th inning. 2-1 Mexico. 2-0. 3-1. Tough spot for a pitcher.
Well, it is a tough spot for Ayala, but he's no stranger to closing out games. He holds the Mexican League record for saves with 41 in 1999. So obviously, a game of this magnitude is much greater, but he has gotten the final out many times before.
The outfield, everybody deep, kind of bunched towards center field. And he spins that breaking ball over the outside, strike 2.
And as a hitter, this is very difficult because earlier in the count, 2-0, he threw a fastball right down the middle of the plate. 3-1, a hitter's count. Alex Rodriguez sitting on a fastball. Ayala makes the great pitcher's pitch with a breaking ball.
All right, Chipper Jones, is he running? Or do you send him at 3-2, 1 out?
I don't send him. I leave him at first base. Let my hitters do a job.
He is not running. And that's ball 4. Consecutive walks. Chipper Jones, a possible tying run, moves into scoring position now. Alex Rodriguez will go to first base, the possible winning run, and Johnny Damon, his new Yankee teammate, will go in to run for him. As we say, representing the possible winning run. And Joaquin Estrada, the Team Mexico manager, is coming out. There's Damon at first base.
They're actually going to bring the pitching coach and the trainer out to see if he's okay. I mean, he missed by a lot on that last pitch. And Eric Harris, as you said, he's a guy that's been used to this role. He's not afraid of the 9th inning, but that was not a good pitch on that last fastball. He may not be healthy.
In the bullpen, David Cortez of the Colorado Rockies is warming up. So So Ayala is out of the game. 2 men on for Team USA. Once again, needing that big clutch hit that has been so elusive. We'll be back. Mexico 2, United States 1. And there's Chipper Jones of the Atlanta Braves conversing at second base with Jorge Cantu of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays over at first base. Johnny Damon, the possible winning run. The pinch runner for Alex Rodriguez. Adrian Gonzalez, the first baseman, now with the San Diego Padres. They converse. 2-1, Team Mexico leading, and David Cortez, a rookie last year with the Colorado Rockies, on to try and close now for Team Mexico.
Yeah, he came on in the 8th inning when these two teams met in round 1. He had a 1-2-3 scoreless 8th inning. He also came in just a few days ago against Korea, and he got a strikeout in the 7th inning there. So he is throwing the ball real well. Obviously, Estrada with a lot of confidence in it.
And the crowd, everybody's been on their feet in this ballpark this entire inning. The USA again in search of that big hit to knock in a run. No hits in 5 such at-bats previously tonight. To short. This could be 2. There's one. The first. Out of the dirt. He pulls it out. A double play. And Team Mexico has eliminated Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. One pitch and David Cortez has ended the night. Team Mexico defeats Team USA 2-1. And after all of that, it is Team Japan that will head to the Final Four after all.
And as Team USA looks back on this series and the losses they've had, Eric Karras, as you said in the open, it was not being able to come through with runners in scoring position.
Well, they had some opportunities, and when you have the opportunities, they were limited opportunities. They weren't able to cash in tonight. They had a base running mistake, but that's going to happen in what is called a tournament, and that's what this is. You have to remember, it's a short tournament. It's one game here, one game there. But hats off to Team Mexico. What they did today, coming in, playing as well as they did, big win for Team Mexico.
And again, as we've seen throughout this tournament with the top teams all the way through, excellent defense.
Well, that's been the difference in this tournament. The pitching and the defense. That's what separates the winning club from the losing club. And we haven't seen a lot of offense throughout this tournament, and that's to be expected. A lot of these guys offensively aren't in shape yet. That will happen in the upcoming weeks, but right now pitching and defense take precedence.
You know, and the biggest thing that I have seen throughout this 16-team tournament is the fact that baseball around the world is catching up with baseball in the United States. We've seen it from the Latin countries. We've seen it in Japan the last few years. Now we see it from Korea. And the talent is so close that little things like a base running mistake or a sacrifice bunt can make the difference as to whether you go on or whether you do not.
And Team USA does not go on in this World Baseball Classic. Vernon Wells, a broken bat one-hopper with a shortstop, Meziga, and then Gonzalez pulled out the low throw at first, a double play. And for Team USA, they're not going home. They're going to spring training now. This tournament is over, and our congratulations to Sadaharu Oh and Team Japan. They will get a 3rd shot against Korea, the team that has beaten them twice already in very dramatic, tense one-run games.
And Sadaharu Oh made the comment that the 3rd time the truth will be told. Pretty strong statement, because Korea has beaten Japan twice, and if they do beat them a 3rd time, and I guess he's saying that Korea must be better than Japan.
So the Final Four of the first World Baseball Classic has been set. The Dominican Republic and Cuba on Saturday in San Diego at Petco Park at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. And then, how about that? This has got to be a huge surprise with Team USA needing a win. And they would have been there, and they could not get that win. It will be Japan and Korea in Game 2 Saturday night. Buck Martinez, the manager of Team USA, is down with our Duke Castiglione by the dugout. Duke.
Thank you very much. Buck, how is this powerful lineup Team USA
only able to score 1 run tonight against Team Mexico.
Well, Duke, what happens is you face a lot of guys you're not that familiar with, and they executed some pretty good pitches. Obviously, this is a great lineup, but we were never really able to get anything going offensively throughout the entire tournament. We had the right guys up at the end of the ball game, but sometimes you got to tip your hat to the other team. They made some pretty good pitches on Junior, and then we got Chipper and A-Rod on, but double play kind of echoed what happened to us offensively throughout the tournament.
Buck, this was a team that was expected to get to the semifinal, but now that you're not there, what does this say about the rest of the world and the way they play baseball?
Well, Duke, I think we've seen throughout all of the pools, the quality of baseball is pretty good all over the world. The caliber of the pitching was outstanding, especially in the bullpens. And when you see that many good arms out of the bullpen in your second and third at-bats, it's difficult as a hitter to make those adjustments. But, you know, we can make no excuses. We just didn't swing the bats well throughout this whole tournament.
Buck, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Fellas, back to you.
Thanks, Duke. So 2 teams from the Caribbean, Cuba and the Dominican Republic, and 2 teams from the Far East, Japan and Korea, both are in the semifinals come Saturday, and the drama, the intrigue will continue, and astonishingly, it will continue without Team USA. The final score, Mexico eliminates Team USA 2-1. Stay tuned next up on ESPN for championship kickboxing. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. I'm John Miller for Rick Sutcliffe, Eric Karras, and Duke Castiglione, and our entire ESPN crew. We'll see you Saturday at Petco Park in San Diego for the WBC semifinals. Don't miss it. Now from Anaheim, good night.